Good Tuesday morning, Omaha, Nebraska. We are just 9 days away from the beginning of Husker football season. We are 4 days away from the beginning of college football season. I had to go look back at the date because I have to remind myself every day what the date is, probably multiple times.
Do you want to do you want the ball back to start that over? Do you want an onside kick? That's 4 days away too.
It will be.
Never forget.
What is the anniversary? Oh, first off, I'm Matt McMaster. On the ones and twos is Jake Janicek. Gary Sharp is on vacation. He will be back Friday for the second day of what will be the beginning of Red Out Week. Red Out Week, a massive kickoff event. Obviously just a whole week leading up to the Husker football game that will culminate in Kansas City, which will end with a roundtable between myself, Connor Happer, Josh Peterson, John Bishop, and Gary Sharp. That will take place, I believe, from 4 to 7 p.m. On 1620 The Zone. So don't miss out on that. That's going to be an awesome event. But in for Gary today, Mr. Caleb Henry. What is the anniversary of that game?
August 27th.
Okay.
Here's the thing. You can Google search that.
Sure.
You can ask AI. I just went to my scheduled tweets.
That was
get ready for the same tweet every year from here into eternity.
That was the first game. So Caleb Henry, you're of Husker Max.
Yes.
Formerly, you and I worked together at a radio station in Lincoln called KLIN. That game, if I'm not mistaken, was the first game that we worked together.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of it all. Do you remember we had a Break the Curse event before that game at Haymarket Park between you, Jack Mitchell, and Josh Peterson? We're all together. And I think John Bishop was there as well.
Was it before the Ireland game?
It was before the Ireland game, if I'm not mistaken. Because it wasn't before the Illinois game. Or was it before... Because Ohio State was... So was it before the Illinois game or was it before the Ireland game?
It was it was 2022. So
it would have been... No, it would have been the Ireland game. You ran a Break the Curse event. You ran an event. You put this whole thing together. It was actually a very well thought out event that included yourself, John Bishop, Jack Mitchell, and Josh Peterson. Everybody went to Haymarket Park. Okay. And there was a good 50 to 60 people that were there.
It was fun.
And it was this kind of, hey, come and hang out. Let's celebrate. You couldn't go to Ireland, but we're going to have a good time. It was a catered event. There was food there. I don't know if there were beverages there, but it was.
Oh, there were beverages.
There were beverages there. You had the Killigans there at the event playing Scarlet in the Cream.
We had a burn barrel.
You had a burn barrel. You had the old Herbie Husker, like the original.
Shout out Chris Lofgren.
Chris Lofgren,
who wore the. And when we're saying old, we're talking, what was it, like 70s? It was like 70s.
From the 70s.
70s.
It was a 40. Chris told me it was a 45-year-old.
Yeah. So
mascot uniform, which by the way,
he wore,
looked disgusting.
Oh, he pulled that out of the closet.
Looked like it hadn't been washed in probably 40.
I don't know how you wash that thing anyway.
Dry cleaner.
But yeah,
I imagine. Do you think they take the Herbie Husker to a dry cleaner?
No, they turned that away. They turned that away.
What do you think they charge?
But Lofgren wore that. He's actually in pictures. If you've ever seen a picture of Herbie with Ronald Reagan,
yes, that's him.
Lofgren is the one inside the Herbie Husker outfit. So
that's a guy. Here's a guy who's lived like 1,000 lives,
and he does traffic for the stations, for the NRG stations in Lincoln.
That's how we worked with him. But you held that event, and
that was a fun event.
The point of the event, though, I want to remind everybody, the point of the event was to break the curse, okay? Because you and Jack's bit leading up to that season was that there was a curse, that there was an actual curse.
Okay, I don't think it was only that season.
But we've
talked about a curse.
No, but that was the bit. The bit was like, this is the year that we're really going to lean in to, hey, there's actually there's some voodoo going on. And you wanted to break it, and you did a bunch of things, which included smashing eggs on my head.
Okay, you did that on your own.
And And by the way, they wrote an ESPN article about this. So if you want to go ahead and like look up what happened,
Which is
I'm pretty
hilarious.
sure I was labeled as intern.
Yeah, you were labeled as an intern.
because Josh Peterson didn't know who I was and what my role was. So he was just
I
like,
don't know. He seems like an
He was
intern.
just an intern, and they cracked eggs on his head. And then what occurred afterwards was probably the most indicative thing of a curse in modern Husker football history, which was going on the road to Ireland to play what we would all consider a lesser opponent, be pretty exciting in the first quarter. Like the Isaiah Garcia Castaneda touchdown to begin the game was absolutely incredible. And then also the Casey Thompson scramble on the sideline where he was running around and then he just whipped around and just threw it. It was also, I'm pretty sure IGC also caught that one. And then the game seems like it's pretty much in tow.
Well, and didn't IGC basically like disappear after that?
Oh,
though?
after that, it was done.
It was like, hey, remember that touchdown he caught?
Well, I remember that Casey said, I think he said after the game, he's like, I've never thrown that route to him. He was like, we just have so many wide receivers and I don't think I've thrown that specific thing, which, by the way, in itself probably should have been a bad omen for the rest of the year, or at least maybe indicative of the how aware everything was.
Right. So there's the Ireland game. You have it the way it starts. Nebraska gets up 2 scores.
God.
Comes out with the onside kick.
God. So that is it. Like, that's the onside kick. And then you have the stories of what occurred before the onside kick.
Yeah,
in terms of what was said to people before it happened.
I'll say allegedly is the way.
I'm pretty sure Peterson has said it too.
I think a lot of people have. So if you haven't heard it, and it's been talked about a lot, but that then Coach Scott Frost said, "Watch this," and then they had the onside kick.
2 people,
and it did not go well.
Oh no, we watched it.
It did not go well. Obviously,
the best part of that entire game was Northwestern didn't win a game for the rest of the season.
God, I forget about that.
They
part.
didn't win one game for the rest of the year. They went 1-11 that year.
Okay,
and then they didn't win a game on American soil.
That was
for 2 years.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I remember making that. It was like, hey, so Northwestern hasn't won a game in America in a while.
Yeah, in a while.
Why do you have to say in America? Well, there was a game.
There was a game in Ireland
overseas
that they did win.
But no, so yes, we have that break the curse event,
which did the opposite.
No. I still say, and I said that season, maybe the curse was that in order to break it, we put the wheels in motion. And those wheels included an onside kick. Those wheels included Georgia Southern at night in Memorial Stadium. Those wheels included going through a coaching search and another season without a bowl game and interim head coach Mickey Joseph and beating Iowa to close out the regular season. The wheels in motion got Matt Rule in Lincoln. That's what I continue to say, is that we held that event.
Yeah.
And where do we feel now going into 2025?
Feel a little bit better.
It feels like that curse we're right up against. Is it over? Is that era that Nebraska's been in?
I don't believe in curses. I don't believe in curses. I believe in proper execution and culture and running a professional program.
That's fine. Like you can believe that. Like you can believe that. That's not the way that's not what facts will tell you.
Sure. Facts. Look, to be fair, it's hard for me to say I don't believe in curses when I have listened to every episode of Growing Kick Chronicles. And if there's anything that was made to make you believe that curses exist, it was probably that podcast series.
Well, so there's
some brutal losses.
There's almost an infinite amount of ways a football can bounce. Just the way it is shaped. If 999 times out of 1,000, it just happens to bounce away from your team.
Sure.
If you go multiple seasons without an opponent getting a holding call.
See, that's okay. But
because I don't think the Big Ten is out to get Nebraska.
Yeah.
But
no,
I do think when you start to look statistically at the way things have gone,
No, it is
none
weird.
of it adds up and makes
No.
sense.
Okay, so I will say this: the whole not having a holding called for Nebraska in what seemed like forever was very interesting. That's one of those things where, once again, I'm never going to acknowledge conspiracies or curses. But that was a weird. That definitely was.
You're
a
not
weird
going
occurrence.
to acknowledge two of the most fun things to talk about. What are you doing in sports radio?
No. But not in this context. Like, I do have conspiracy theories, I believe it, but that's more on a governmental level.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's not so much on a Nebraska football level.
Yeah,
Maybe the A&M game, back in the 2010.
10.
Maybe that one, because I've rewatched that game.
Oh,
that was
okay.
cool.
The Big 12 was absolutely.
Oh, they were out.
For
I
Nebraska.
will admit that. I think the Big 12 probably was not very not probably. They were not very happy with what occurred. But the beauty of the whole curse thing, I didn't think this is where we were going to go in the first segment, but I did write down random crap for segment 1 between you and I. It's funny because a lot of the things that occurred really are avoidable through good coaching. Like the onside kick. Just don't do it. Just kick the ball off. Continue to have the momentum that you have. The Michigan State punt, just punt it in the right direction. Mm-hmm. The Iowa debacle, maybe just catch the punt or call poison on it sooner, right? Just good coaching. Just good coaching. I'm trying to think of one.
Okay. Some of that, though, only one of those three things was coaching. Why? The other two were execution.
But that is coaching. IGC should have known. I mean, he was pretty far deep back in the own territory.
No, he definitely knew.
Like he should have just ran away from it or like not half gone after it. Because he didn't even touch it, but it's just like if you're gonna go after it, you got to catch it. That's coaching. That's it. I mean,
at some point, guys just have to do their job. At some point, you're a football player on a Division I program, and you're doing a thing that is like there is one thing you do on a play. You punt the ball to this side of the field. You make sure that either you catch the punt or nobody else goes near it. Like those are very small, like execution things that regardless of coaching, regardless of level of football, you should do those. The coaching one absolutely was the onside kick. And that's not to excuse innumerable coaching mistakes that have gone on.
Oh my God.
Over the last 20 plus years.
But I do think I don't think if Nebraska football is going to be successful this year, it's going to be because, and I'm not saying you're believing this, and I'm not saying really anybody's believing this, but it's not necessarily because, a curse is lifted and the balls are now going to bounce your way. I don't think Nebraska necessarily has been like, how do I put this? There definitely has been. I'm not going to deny that there has been instances where the ball just does not bounce their way. It just does not go their way. Like the one I think about in particularly the 2021 Ohio. Yeah, no, it would have been the 2022 Ohio State game. Was that the one where Jackson Smith and Jigba had 1,000,000 yards? And Samori Torre. No, that would have been 2021. The 2021 Ohio State game, where they're down 6 and Ohio State is going on a drive. And they end up kicking a field goal to put the game up 9. Game's over. They lose 26-17. And CJ Stroud on that final drive fumbled the football like at midfield.
Yeah.
And Ohio State ended up getting the ball back. Like that is the prototypical. The ball did not bounce.
So here,
but I don't think
here's the part of it the other way though. For a program like Ohio State, and then a program like Nebraska.
Sure,
the ball feels like it bounces your way more when you have superior coaching and superior execution from talented players.
That's a good point.
So when you're in a position like that for Ohio State in that year, they had the better coached program.
Yeah.
They had more talented players.
Yeah.
They had players that executed at a higher level,
Sure.
play in and play out, game in and game out.
But
And the ball bounced their way.
Yeah. But that one is. I think Nebraska football actually played a very good game.
No,
against Ohio
Nebraska.
State. Like,
Nebraska has played some very good games.
Well, and that's an interesting thing too. Like, I guess if you remove the last 2 Michigan games, which have been ass whippings, which by the way, probably shouldn't count.
When you go back to the night game.
Yeah. Oh, well, the 2021 game, that is the ultimate. The ball did just not go your way there because Adrian Martinez should have been called for.
Should have been called down
Like that. But it's not as if Nebraska has gotten their ass kicked against the helmet teams over the last 2 Michigan games, but like competitive against Ohio State last year, competitive against Ohio State in 2021.
Nebraska still has a winning record against
2021.
Penn State since joining the Big Ten.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things where it really has all boiled down to just beating the teams that you should beat. But like going through the Matt Rule losses, right? John Hole missing the kick against Illinois is not the ball bouncing away. It's just John Hole missing a kick and he needing to be better. The Michigan State game from 2023 is just terrible quarterback play and the inability to capitalize on really good defense.
How many times did Nebraska have the ball inside the 5 and a running back just fall down?
In what game?
Multiple times.
Multiple games. Sure.
Yeah, multiple games.
Well, I mean, you can go back to the Ohio State, but I'm just talking about the Matt Rule era specifically. If we go through the Matt Rule era specifically, what was the bounce that didn't go Nebraska's way in the Ohio State game? They just got stood up on the goal line, right? Yeah. I don't think there was a bounce that didn't go their way in the Illinois loss. I don't think there was the USC. You know what? That's a game where it's like you didn't get multiple calls and you had multiple instances where there probably should have been interceptions. one in the first half and one in the second half, one right before the end zone, one in the end zone, where you're like, all right, so I'll throw that way. UCLA, they just played like crap. They were just awful against UCLA. So I think all of this my point is this. Nebraska isn't necessarily bounces away. There hasn't been too many bad bounces in the Matt Rule era where I'm just like, man, they're so close. Instead, there has been a lack of talent and some questionable coaching. And I think this season, I don't think there's a lack of talent on this team at all. And I think any of the questionable coaching that you could point to in the Matt Rule era, that has been fixed by the hires that they've made. Because we don't know that Mike Eckler and Dana Holgorsen have necessarily, we can't call them a success, but the merit that they have from the places that they've come from.
They have they have resumes that you don't normally have.
No, God, no at all. Dana Holgorsen is, first off, shocking. Not shocking, but that's a head coach. You have a head coach as your offensive coordinator, just plain and simple.
It's Nick Saban, Alabama-esque.
Yes,
that's what it is.
Yes, and you have Mike Eckler, who is just an absolute special teams wizard. I keep explaining to people the fact that man got Baelish Jones Jr. drafted is incredible.
Well, and you go to the other side, and yes, it's a first-year defensive coordinator,
but you got Phil Snow behind him.
Well, no, yes, you have that, but it's also not okay. Well, he was a DB coach for the last 20 years.
Sure.
And it was all at this small college, then this small college, then this slightly bigger college, then this power conference college. No, he was in the NFL. When he was talking, when John Butler was talking yesterday about aggressiveness, and I'm sure we'll get into his presser a little bit later, he was talking about, I watched the way the Chiefs
that was a great quote.
The Chiefs coverage was playing the Buffalo Bills wide receivers in the playoffs. I saw the way they did that, and I went, that's what we need to do. He's taking stuff from games that he was coaching in. He didn't just watch it on TV.
Yeah.
He didn't just go to a coaching clinic and learn it. He watched it play out in real time and made a life coaching decision on the way he was going to tactically schematically approach the future of coaching defensive backs. And now he's bringing that to an entire defense. Yeah. We have to see the way it plays out because Nebraska had a pretty darn good defense last year. You're replacing some guys up front, but when we talk about the coordinators and the coaching changes, everything always comes back to Holgorsen and Eckler. Butler's going to play a large role in the way all of this turns out in the coaching changes from 2024 to 2025 too.
And we'll talk about that. But I don't think that the Bears are popped up on my screen. I don't think the
Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, no. I don't think
preseason champs.
Yes, big time. I root for the two teams in football that are always preseason champs. I think Nebraska football is going to be better because I just think that they're better. Like, I don't think Nebraska football is going to be better because things are just going to magically go their way. I just
no, you have to break your own curses.
Yeah, I just straight up think that they are going to win more games this year because they have better coaching, and it's mainly better coaching. I just think they're going to win more games this year because they have better coaching, period. And I think the better coaching will turn their more talented players into higher production level players.
And because they're going to break the curse.
No, I don't think that.
The wheels set in motion 3 years ago.
I don't think
are getting to
like,
that point on the racetrack where they go,
Dylan
you know
Raiola,
what? We've made the turn.
When Dylan Raiola threw a pick 6 to UCLA against UCLA, there's nothing cursed about that. That was just a terrible read on the sideline. That should not have been thrown.
What made his eyes go there? The curse.
Who was his coordinator?
The curse.
His coordinator isn't the one that his coordinator is now. I mean, it's just one. God, why was Joe Burrow still in that game all the way till like 4 minutes left? That was let him get sacked. There's going to be some trouble in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I was watching that yesterday. Like, okay, hey, well, because
I'm sorry I made you watch that.
I know. Yeah, quick switch to NFL preseason. But yeah, the Bengals, their next trip out, had the ball at like the 4 because they had an interception. And then immediately the broadcast goes, hey, everyone, you can exhale. Joe Burrow's not in the game.
No. And I always find it really funny that it's also preseason for Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. You know, like they had Greg Olson and Joe Davis on the Bears game. Like, it was very clear, like, hey boys, we're just trying to we're rolling these guys out here. We're going to make sure we have a high level production. We're going to treat this like a regular season game. Make sure we're all raring and revving to go. Oh,
the highlights sounded like it was playoff football. You could play enough clips, and you're like, oh, that was a divisional game, baby.
I cheered that first touchdown as if it was a regular season touchdown. There were multiple fist pumps thrown.
Guys are keeping footballs when they score in the preseason. Is that well? Do those go up on a mantle in the same way?
If you're a starter, no. But I imagine if you're
for like those rookies.
Oh yeah. God, yeah. Because
starters aren't doing that because they've been in the league.
You can call it an NFL touchdown. You were in the NFL and you scored a touchdown.
Okay, so Ty Robinson, not this last game, but the first preseason
had an NFL sack.
It's an NFL sack.
That's an NFL sack.
But it doesn't go towards any contracts.
No.
If it doesn't count towards a contract, do you count it?
This is a weird Matt McMaster take. Okay? But I'm all call it participation medals, call it whatever the hell you want. These guys have worked a lot of their lives to get this opportunity, right? And yes, does it go in Football Reference that Ty Robinson got a sack? No. But Ty Robinson in that moment was in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, he got a sack. So whilst you're in the NFL and whilst you get a sack, it is henceforth an NFL sack.
If you throw a no-hitter in spring training.
Oh God. See, I don't think that's the correlate. I don't think that's a 1-to-1.
Why not? The games don't count in your record. None of it counts towards your contract.
The no-hitter's like more special.
See, it's one of those things though where I think
you hit 3 home runs in a spring training.
Here's who I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking of Ty Robinson. Ty Robinson is going to get an actual regular season NFL sack.
Oh, yes, he's going to make the roster.
I think Ty Robinson is going to make a lot of money. I'm thinking of the guys who are playing in the third or fourth quarter who are not even competing for roster spots, but they're competing for practice squad spots.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking of them when they eventually get cut and they're high school coaches. And I want them to be able to tell their players, I got an NFL sack.
Like feel good moments are fine.
Yes. I don't think there's any harm And I'm not saying you are saying that, but I'm just saying I'm thinking of those guys who aren't going to have NFL careers. If they score if they score a touchdown in the preseason, I think for them, I want them to be able to say, yeah, I scored a touchdown in the NFL. I was in the NFL and I scored a touchdown.
I'm more
which is not incorrect. They were in the NFL and they scored a touchdown.
Yeah, it was a preseason touchdown. That's fine. When Ty Robinson, we go a month from now, and he gets a sack, and then we get him on in a decade. We get him on, and we're like, hey, do you remember your first NFL sack? Do you know which one he's going to say?
Oh,
he's going to say that one a month from now, not the one 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I wonder if we ever interview Ty, we'll ask him. Ty, when was your first NFL
Ty,
sack?
set a reminder.
Yeah. Set a reminder of when we interview Ty Robinson, which won't happen.
August 2035.
God, when he's a co-host on 1620. So.
No, he'll be going into year 10.
How old is he? He's 24.
Yeah, something like that.
He'll make it to the second contract. He'll sign a very, very nice deal. They are going to be. That's a match made in heaven. Ty Robinson and the Philadelphia Eagles, because they needed kind of a plugger and a bigger guy, a bigger body on their two deep behind Davis and behind Carter. And I also do think too, Ty is perfect for that team, because we've seen that Davis and Carter aren't the most well-conditioned players in terms of it's hard to be that big and play so many snaps a game. And Ty played so many snaps last season and has an incredible motor that it's just going to be awesome for him playing in that defense. That team, I don't know. It's going to be really hard for me to bet against the Philadelphia Eagles again this season to win the Super Bowl. I think that offense is, they lost Becton, and that Landon Dickerson comes back from that injury, and it's a minor injury, so apparently he'll be ready for week 1. But I think that O-line is still going to be great. You still got Saquon. You still have Devonta Smith. You still have Dallas Goedert. You still have A.J. Brown. I think Jalen Hurts. I have him as the 5th best quarterback in the NFL. That's out of pure respect for him being incredibly efficient and winning the Super Bowl.
Now,
I'm worried about the secondary greatly.
So when you rank quarterbacks, is it this is the pure talent that this quarterback has, plus age, plus health, whatever, or are there considerations for this is how well that quarterback plays there?
Save that for the next segment.
Yeah.
Let's save that for the next segment. We have a really good show for you today. Sam McEwen at 7:30 today. Also, we're going to have Brian Christopherson on at 9 o'clock talking about some Huskers on this Tuesday morning, because we are 9 days away, or we are a week away from being 2 sleeps away from Nebraska football playing their first game of a highly anticipated 2025 season. Hey, don't forget to call us too on the Prairie Flower Casino hotline, 402-951-1620 The Zone. And you can email us on the Equitable Bake inbox at Matt@1620 The Zone. Also, go to the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Matt McMedia, at iCalebHenry, if you want to tweet at us during the show. Caleb, you asked a great question. How do we judge quarterbacks? 2 really good NFL quarterbacks played yesterday. We're going to talk about where they stand in the hierarchy in the NFL. And on top of that, I think that this college football crop of quarterbacks is so damn interesting this season. We're going to talk about that next on the other side of this break here on 1620 The Zone. NFL preseason still going on, which there's been a lot of attention paid to preseason this year. I feel like, have you noticed that too? Do you think that there's been an increased amount of preseason attention this year compared to years past? I feel like there's been like
Is there more
a lot of stock being taken in to this preseason than preseasons past, because there are people who are legitimately concerned about the Bengals defense after what occurred yesterday, and just maybe genuinely concerned about the Bengals in general after what happened yesterday.
Are those same people concerned about the Bills?
Oh, good point. Well, they didn't play. So here's the thing, though. They didn't play their first game defense. But at the same time, a lot of people took victory laps if you were on the Bears train yesterday.
Absolutely.
After for the first time in maybe my life, a defense lined up in cover 2, and we said, we're going to expose the seams and throw over the linebacker's head. That's never happened before in my life of watching football.
What,
So,
you mean Cutler couldn't make that throw?
No, Cutler would throw it over the safety and just pray that Brandon Marshall caught it.
Over the
Like, look at
safety.
this.
That
Look at
dude
this.
just wanted
They
to
are
chuck
showing,
it.
like on ESPN, they are showing his Jaden Daniels stat lines for this season, for this preseason. And like they have a full on look at that graphic. Look like that is a professional ass graphic.
Well, I mean,
And now they have Lisa Salters, like she's interviewing.
we're impressed because they're making professional television graphics.
Well, no, I'm just telling you that this isn't like, I just feel like in the past, look at this. Like, do you know the MLB happened yesterday? Do you know that like some interesting results occurred? Like the White Sox beat the Atlanta Braves 13-9. The Colorado Rockies won as well.
Not a single thing that happened on a diamond yesterday is the most interesting thing out of Major League Baseball.
Well, we'll talk about that later in the show because
But that's my point.
you know the Colorado Rockies beat the Dodgers 4-3 yesterday. I want to know, Jake, if you could do some research here for us while we're doing the segment. Can you find us the last time the Rockies and the White Sox won a game on the same day?
We'll do.
It has to be a long time.
Make the first part of your cross-reference White Sox wins. That will narrow this down
You have
a lot.
a typewriter over there? Why is it so loud when you're typing on that keyboard?
Hey man, I'm going fast.
it's
My
just
best.
I feel like
I
I'm
don't really
about to-
type normal. I
I
kind of
feel
just
like-
go, you know. I feel like I'm always on a typewriter when I type. You trying to watch me type?
Well, I'm just saying, I just feel like there's a ding coming any second over there from the noise that computer is making. You do type weird.
I know I do.
Your whole
I didn't really
right,
go with the
your
fundamentals
whole
back in the
right
day.
hand is on 70% of the keyboard.
Yeah, I know.
You got to be even. Muscle memory.
I know.
Did you not have Mavis Beacon in
I was
school?
about to say.
I mean, we did, but I just never really followed it.
Shout
Won't
out
lie.
Mavis Beacon.
Yeah.
I went to the Kevin Suits school of typing.
Witchcraft and wizardry.
Yeah, well, that and just putting in google.com in the Google search bar and then taking you to Google. And then
I love people that
searching.
Google for Google.
He Googles for Google. Do we know anybody who
It was just
Everybody
July
knows-
6th.
July 6th?
Yeah, 2025.
Okay. There you go.
The Royals lost to the White Sox and the Rockies beat the Nationals.
Do you know how many? I feel like everybody has to know one person who Googles for Google. And at that point, if you're Googling for Google, you know, like it's a bit at that point, right?
No. That like for us, yes.
For me, it's a bit.
Like if I
if
open
I was
up
Googling for
if
Google,
I open up Chrome
sure.
and I type in google.com, yeah, that's a bit. Like I'm making sure somebody's watching me do that because I'm feeling bad if I do that
Always
for
gotta do it.
myself.
You got to make sure. You got to make sure you're at
Like
where
if
you
you're
wanna
doing the
be.
bit, I need the audience. However, I have watched people
Oh yeah, no,
older than myself.
sure. At the Nebraska press conference,
No, not at the Nebraska press
Okay.
conferences. No, at
that
my-
would be a tough look if you were a writer for one of those high-level publications and you were consistently writing Husker articles and you felt the need to type in google.com into the Google search bar every time.
No, this is from my previous place of employment. Some people that would come in.
Previous place of employment.
Well, mine one, yours one removed.
Yes, good
Um,
point.
But there were people that would come in and be guests on shows, and there'd be a computer, and they would say, "Hey, how do I get to this?" And I'd come around, and they have Chrome open, and I watch them type in google.com, and then it just refreshes the page.
I just want to let everybody know that google.com is not a website. Google's just a search engine. If anybody, there might be some people.
Google.com's not a website,
No,
it's a
not.
lifestyle.
No, it's a lifestyle. I do want to say though, Caleb, I am slightly concerned that we might be talking to some people in the audience who are like, what are these asshats talking about? They like,
No, definitely.
what do you mean? What do you mean? You don't type in Google to google.com. What do you mean that Google isn't a website?
I will
You
say
can
this
just
though.
search whatever you want. Whatever is on your mind, you just put in that search bar and you go.
If you type in google.com, you get a little bit of dark mode happen.
Do you?
Oh,
Is there an upgrade or is that incognito?
I don't know. That kind of
That has
I
to
don't like
be-
it.
That's
Felt
got to be
wrong.
one of the biggest red flags in modern society, right? Consistently using the incognito tab.
Unless you're
And
I'm
there
not
are-
advocating for this. Support your local newspapers. Sometimes you can get around the paywalls
with incognito.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
because they don't always show up because it's like, hey, you get 3 free articles.
Caleb Henry.
You
for
get 2
taking
free
an entire
articles.
Yep.
sports
You get 1
industry
free
here.
article, and I'm like, well, I kind of want to read this NJ.com story real quick before Nebraska plays Rutgers. All right, let's see if it opens up in incognito.
I haven't read Chattel in a minute. Let's go to incognito mode.
No, I love Tom's press box.
I do. Tom's press box had a good press box.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna talk about it, but he's still red. He's still on my subscription, my discounted subscription to Omaha.com has unfortunately run out, and now I'm in the big boy world of okay, I'm gonna have to pay.
This is what it looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to cough this up because it's a really important publication for me to do my job. It's just kind of, I think it's one of those moments where you're like, if I'm going to survive in this world, I'm just gonna have to bite a bullet and pay for something that's a little, I'm just gonna have to spend more money.
How many subscriptions do you have?
Not that many.
So not talking like
Good question.
Netflix, Disney Plus.
This is a great
I'm-
question to ask.
like for what we
Yeah.
do
yeah,
in media, and for a lot of people who listen, they're trying to consume as much
Sure.
as possible,
Sure.
and it can be locally.
yeah.
Like you can have subscriptions. I mean, AM radio is always free. Remember
It is.
that.
It is always free.
Amen.
But you can have subscriptions to the Omaha World Herald,
I have that.
like Husker Online.
I have that, which is now
So-
Rivals too. You get both.
Yeah, because on 3 reacquired Rivals, so you have all of it. It's all rolled into one there. So that's not 2 now. You just have just the on 3. But there's also like there's 24/7.
Yeah.
I like Extra Points with Matt Brown.
Ooh. I don't do that one.
That one's really good.
It's
It's not necessarily a subscription, but you do have to pay once a year to get it.
sure.
And this year you can get some weekly content with
So-
like Pick 6 previews.
So I pay for the preview books. I pay for the Husker Online. I pay for Omaha.com. At the beginning of the football season, I do the Athletic and 24/7.
That's
and
right,
then
the
when-
Athletic.
And
too.
then when the football season is done, I take a break. But when football season begins, I have those. I have
Mhm.
those too. And then I also pay for PFF.
Okay, yeah.
I have PFF. PFF costs a lot, but I paid for PFF. And then I pay for the I-80 Club.
Yes.
That's that.
But and that's the thing is if you want to be able to consume and like for those things, you can have all of that specifically for Husker content.
Oh my God. Well, Husker Max is great though, because Husker Max I don't have to pay for.
Well,
So
yeah,
I read a lot of Husker Max articles.
Yeah.
as well.
yeah, which is
Well,
what we love to do, and like we're not a subscription based
No.
with the way our model is.
It is a
But-
lot. There's a lot of
But there are a lot of very good, and yes, we have some very talented contributors with Husker Max, but there are a lot of really
And I
talented,
think I'm-
really talented and smart people in this
it is
market
Oh my God, it's incredible.
that
The-
are
the talent.
the World Herald, that are at
Yes.
Husker Online, that are with Husker 24/7, with all of these places. Mitch Sherman with the Athletic,
Brunts, Christopherson,
yeah,
Schaefer,
like you go through,
Callahan, and
and if you
Washut,
want to
and
hear
Stickle,
what every one of those people say,
Amy Just,
they do
Evan Bland writes a great article.
like they do free content. Like almost all of them do a podcast at some point.
Yeah.
Like you can hear them. They'll come on to great shows like this, but there is so much written word or
So
paywalled
much.
content.
I mean, we're forgetting John Walker, Wilson Moore, and Luke Mullen too. Like those three guys are awesome. Right?
We have
John Walker, man. I just want to say, I don't know if John's listening. John Walker he's gonna win it. I don't know what it is, but he's gonna win it. John Walker is such a good writer.
Mhm.
I will read any, like I think there are very few people where I'm like, man, whatever they write, I'm just automatically like, I'm going to go and I'm going to read it. John Walker is bang.
That's how I am with Amy Just Features.
Yeah.
When she
Amy
does,
Just features.
when she does a feature, I'm just like, okay,
the simple breakdowns are
Simple
are must read as
breakdowns,
well. And then but also too, like anything.
I miss Dirk's columns.
Yeah. Dirk had some great ones. But I came, you know what? I
You kind of
missed
missed
out.
Dirk.
I missed out on Dirk. The one I really only remember ever reading one Dirk article, and that was after the 2021 Northwestern victory. And it was like he wrote a great article about like, this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. This is what Husker football should be. Like they just beat a team by 49 points.
The debut of
kicked
the
their
light
ass.
show at Memorial Stadium.
Jacquez Yant ran all over the Northwestern Wildcats in a Big Ten game. Like this is what Husker football is supposed to be. It was such a well-written article. So much talent in this market. So much talent.
Well, and that's
but
the thing
like-
is, if there wasn't all of this talent, but there was all of this subscription service, like
Yeah.
it
Oh,
wouldn't
we gotta
feel like, okay, I need these things to consume so much
When we
content.
get in, like starting next week, I will just be subscribed to every single writer. Also too, Brandon Vogel and Aaron Sorensen do an incredible job.
The counter read,
Counter read is incredible. That is high quality content. Can't forget about that. They're absolutely.
Well,
They
yeah,
do- the stuff that BV does, and like the way he dives into that stuff is great. So, fan of all. You can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong with who you're reading.
we are
Very lucky. We are. I will tell you right
we're-
now.
and
I will tell you right now.
we're spoiled.
Nebraska has a more active and a more active like writing conglomerate than what there was in Chicago. Like in terms of how many people, how many writers were consistently in the spotlight and consistently brought on and consistently were heard from and had opinions on things.
So is that
Is
that
Chicago
because
was consolidated? Like Mark Potash is
Mhm.
high quality stuff. Courtney Cronin, high quality stuff. If you're talking high school sports, Michael O'Brien, incredible. But if you are a follower of Husker football, a lot of those names that I just mentioned, and I even forgot Brian Munson, you are probably very familiar with. I don't think like Chicago just wasn't really that way. Like there are like Adam Johns and Adam Hogue, like those are high quality writers too. But it just wasn't at like the way that Nebraska football just has all these different people doing all these different contents, all these different slants. It's high.
so like in Chicago, is it pretty much you've got your Bears person, you've got your White Sox person,
Yeah, a
your
little
Cubs
bit.
person, you've got your Northwestern,
a little bit.
you've got
yeah.
your high school.
But Chicago was a lot of TV. Like Comcast Sports Network was massive for Chicago.
yeah.
Like it was, you got a lot of your information from Chuck Garfien and from David Kaplan and from Thomas Sulo and also radio too. Like I would say a lot, like that was and I would say right now. I just know, and also too, I think I'm being a little bit biased because I know way more of the writers here than I do in Chicago. But it just seems like there's just the variety you have.
But
When reading the variety you have when reading Nebraska athletics.
So that's what I'm talking about, because in Chicago, as I mentioned, you're going through, there's a person for this team, this team, this team, this team.
Sure.
Here, all of the people that we talked about, and yeah, it relies heavily on the powerhouse and the engine that is Husker football.
That's incredible.
But it's basketball too. It's baseball and softball and volleyball, which gets going this week.
We didn't even mention Abby Barmore. Look, we got to get to a break here. I love that we did that because I really do. I have so much respect for all those people who provide us great content. We're going to talk about quarterbacks on the other side of this break here. We're going to be talking about the NFL. We're going to be talking about college football. John Butler talked about the defense yesterday. It was a different type of John Butler press conference. It was one that was needed, but it was a different type of one. We'll talk about that and what I mean by that specifically. We're also just going to talk about the defense in general, because I think that them as a whole, we try and pinpoint very specific things about this team that you may or may not know about. I think you could blanketly label this defense in a certain way, and it can either get you really excited or really nervous for this upcoming season. We're also going to talk a little bit about the MLB, because they're trying to piss everybody off with doing something that I don't think is necessarily necessary.
Sign me up.
I like Rob Manfred. I like him. This is stupid, though. On top of that, Oklahoma is doing something that is different, and I kind of want to know if people who are listening to the show would sign up for what they're trying to put down. But after we talk about quarterback, Sam,
simultaneously brilliant and awful.
No, simultaneously, like, I respect it, but kind of like, what the hell are we doing, man? Sam McKeon coming up at 7:30. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Gary and Matt on 1620%. This is such a weird week because it's like we're right there, you know. We're nipping at it. We're gnawing at it. It's like a dog chasing a car. I don't know what to do when I catch it, you know.
It's close.
That car is like right there. That car being football.
Imagine how the players feel for the teams that aren't playing this week, where you're like, you are so close and you know there is football being played around the country, but you got to get through this week and then it's game week. And it's like, it's so close. You've gone through several weeks of camp and it's like, oh, camp is done. But like all you're doing is you're reloading to go, we still have 10 days, 9 days. And for us as sports fans and people who like to watch it, yeah, we're still just a few days away from football, but
still baseball going on. Hey, Royals won yesterday.
Yes,
hell
they
of a
did.
win. Yaz with a leadoff homer. Pasquatch had a knock too. Nice little dong. You know they're 25-15 in the last 40 games. They have the longest winning streak in the MLB right
I like baseball. I do. I like baseball. Like my dad played college baseball. My grandfather played semi-pro baseball. I love baseball. I almost it was down to baseball or track on what I did in college. I really enjoyed I enjoyed
you don't have to defend yourself.
No. I enjoyed the Cardinals.
Yeah.
The last few years have been a little rough. But
long time coming.
Like nobody really cares right now, right? Who's watching baseball?
I think.
I mean, I am.
Yeah.
I watch the Royals.
I think
each game.
We will say this in a week. I say like. No, I when the NFL season begins, like when we get to September 4th, like September 4th to the 20th. But even if you're a big baseball fan, the nights you don't have baseball, you're going to be in a big. I mean, there are going to be big races in September to decide the division. I mean, the AL West and the NL West and the. Look, the Brewers are now 9 games up on the Cubs, so I don't think the NL Central is going to be, unless the Cubs somehow win 4 straight games against the Brewers, which is not going to happen. That race is kind of
so that's my thing with baseball right now is you have to get me 120 games into the season. But before it starts to feel like, okay, where are things shaking out? What is the storyline now? Because when it's game 10, 20, 60, 80, 90, there is so much baseball left and that it doesn't really matter.
I do think with baseball, I think all of the one thing that football has that none of these sports have is that it's so violent that you can't play it 82 times. Okay. You have to have a very small number of games, which means that the games matter so much more, which means that you're just so much more into it. You can lose 3 games in a row in the MLB and you are totally fine. You cannot lose 3 games in a row in college football. You can't. You can't.
You can't lose 3 in a season.
You can't. Yeah. I mean, yeah, seriously. You can't lose 3 games in a row in college football. And losing 3 games in a row in the NFL to a lesser extent, but last year we saw it with the Bengals. Their schedule was so tough that you were like, man, if they lose these 3 specific games, they are not, and they lost them and then they ended up not making the playoffs. So it's just one of those things. See, this is what I'm talking about. Get up right now. Will Bengals defense prevent Joe Burrow from winning a Super Bowl? We are talking about that after a preseason. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, they have to sign Trey Hendrickson, and they gave up like 17 yards per play at one point during the game, which is not good. But yesterday, there was some incredible quarterback play, albeit the preseason. I'm just going to say it because I think I've been afraid of saying it, but I just have to admit it. And I got to get it off my chest. Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL. Joe Burrow is straight up the best quarterback in the NFL. I just can't. I'll put Mahomes 2, and I think Mahomes is absolutely incredible. And the Super Bowls and the winning that's been done, and I like to think I know what I'm talking about. I understand that his numbers not being as great are literally by design. Okay. Spagnuolo and the defense is built a certain way. in order for them to win games, and Kansas City's offense isn't necessarily built and not necessarily designed to be the run and gun of what they were back in 2019 and 2020 and all of those years when they had Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes, still incredible. But the ball that Joe Burrow was playing last season, if you go and look at the second half season splits, it is not even close to what Joe Burrow was doing compared to what every other quarterback was doing. And I cannot stress enough, I think it's ridiculous to talk about, will the Bengals defense prevent Joe Burrow from winning a Super Bowl after a preseason game? You can just say that after what you saw last season, because that defense was so bad. I think the quarterback series on Netflix as well really put it into perspective of how incredible Joe Burrow was playing last season. And it's going to suck this year if he doesn't make the playoffs again. And I don't know what the Bengals have to see more of in order to pay Trey Hendrickson. I don't get that. It doesn't make any sort of sense.
When you talk about Joe Burrow and you talk about, yes, the second half splits.
So good. Wasn't even close.
But why isn't he better in the first half
of the season?
Is that coaching?
No. Well, see, that's a great point.
Is that the way that they set up their season to go?
And that is exactly the reason why, when people were saying, why the hell is he still in the game? Why the hell is he still in the game? It has been a weird thing of Joe Burrow either just, and the Bengals in general, just don't play well, or he ends up getting hurt. It's either one of those two things. They don't play well in the first half of the season and it derails the season, or he gets hurt. That's happened every single season of his career outside of when they won the Super Bowl. But even the year that they won the Super Bowl, they lost to the Bears, who won 3 games that year, who were absolutely terrible. So even in those moments, it's just, I don't know. I think it is going to be a very interesting year for Zach Taylor. And I like Zach Taylor, and I know he's got the Lincoln ties, former quarterback for the Huskers, incredible stuff, and has really elevated to himself. Like Zach Taylor's type of coach where if Zach Taylor were to lose his job, he's going to get hired again.
Yes.
At some point in his career. He has won enough and done enough to earn that. But it's just one of those things where it's like, man, I think it might have been you, but a lot of people were talking about who's the Peyton Manning and who's the Breeze and who's the Brady and who's these guys. It's like Joe Burrow might be on a Dan Marino career path more than anything in terms of the early season success and not being able to recapture that stuff later in his career. But
so to the question that I asked you earlier, is, as you say, Burrow 1, probably Mahomes 2.
Yes. Allen 3, Lamar 4.
Okay, when you go through, so it sounds like as you talk about Joe Burrow, that's the pure talent on where you're ranking him number 1.
Oh,
and
God,
then you had, I think you had Fields 5. So
Hurts 5, not just
yeah.
Jesus. Jesus.
No, I was just trying to help you out there.
No, I don't want just
so when you go through, where is that ranking on their pure talent, age, health, all of those things compared to this is the number 1 quarterback within their scheme and what they're doing offensively?
Sure.
Because when you do that, I think it's Mahomes 1, and I think from there Hurts is 2.
Oh God. Well, if we're doing it off of that, I would argue Brock Purdy and Bo Nix are probably in your top 10 quarterbacks.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing, is it changes the formula when it's what are their skills, how do their skills align to what that team wants to do? Because how many times do you see a quarterback go somewhere and it does not align at all with their skill set and what the team is trying to do?
And that is the question with Dylan and Dana this year. I think that's what it's all going to boil down to. Because if we're going off of a pure talent perspective in the Big Ten, pure talent. Now, I don't have the recruiting numbers in front of me. But pure talent, Dylan Raiola's top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten. Pure talent. We're not talking about numbers. We're not talking about statistics. We're not talking about what have they accomplished. We're just talking about how just God-given talented you are. Very few people have the combination of arm, have the combination of size, have the combination of physicality, and I will say lateral movement or improvisation movement. Dylan Raiola does not have triple option movement, triple option speed. What he has,
Well, yeah,
I would
because they would never put him in to
No,
just start
God, no.
at Army.
but I would
know?
more closely relate. I call it Aaron Rodgers speed. Do you have that speed where you can get outside of the pocket, you can roll right, you can look down the field, you can make a throw, if the throw's not there, you can run for a first down. I think Dylan is closer to that. I don't think there are many quarterbacks in the Big Ten that have that. It's really just going to come down to, can Dana not create an offense? Because they really didn't, and he's made this very clear, they haven't really changed a whole lot from what Satterfield had or what Satterfield created. They've just kind of altered it, and it's going to be you're making salad in a different way is the best way to put it. But can the combination of Dana putting Dylan in the right spots lead to Dylan reaching his potential, and can just Dylan hit a deep ball too? Because that's what it really boils down to as well. And I know that some people have like gotten on me about this, about Dylan with the deep balls, with his deep throws. I know you could say it's amateur stuff to say, like, oh, he just has to have better downfield accuracy. But he missed 2 in the first quarter, or first half rather, against Iowa. He missed the one to Lindenmeyer against Illinois. He missed the one to Banks against Ohio State. Okay, so right now there's 4 right there. Those 4 would change the complexion of the season completely if he had made those passes. If he hits Lindenmeyer, they win that game. They're 6-0 heading into Indiana after they beat Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
He hits Banks on that little pick, and then Banks ran around. He hits him there. It might end up beating the national champions in that game. Okay, so there's 2 wins right there. And then he hits one of those 2 deep balls in the first half against Iowa. It's probably enough to end up winning you that game.
So that'd be 9 wins last year.
That'd be 9 wins if he hits those. And I know it's very easy to say, oh, if he just hits those passes, they have 9 wins. If he hits those 4 passes, if he hits all 4 of those passes, they at least have 1. They for sure have 1 against Illinois.
So
they probably get 1 against Iowa.
And exactly what you're saying. Oh, it's easy to say.
It's easy to say it, but it's like those are the ones. Those are the big plays. But
that's exactly what Dana Holgerson's saying. Do the routine thing routinely, and that routine thing is who is the open guy. It's not, can you hit this guy in a complicated coverage where he has to make a difficult sideline catch, come back to the ball, those types of things. The instances you're bringing up are there's a definite target with space around them.
Yes, hit it.
That is missed. Those are the types of plays. It's not anything special. It's not do a special thing.
Yeah.
It's do this thing where the guy is open that I'm pretty sure Dylan goes there. I should hit that throw. I hit that throw 100 times out of 100 in practice. Why didn't it happen in the game? That's the difference in what can you make that jump from year 1 to year 2 to where those instances come up, and you make that play.
But the routine thing routinely isn't necessarily always just like, can you just, because I don't know what's like a 50-yard pass on the sideline outside of the numbers, okay, isn't necessarily routine, right? Even a 40, like that's still a hard play to make, right? And I think if we're talking about Dylan making those throws, we're talking about Dylan being one of the best quarterbacks in the country, right? So I think maybe
but we are talking about that.
But yes, and that is, and he is a 5-star prospect with a lot of resources invested around him, whether it be coaching and wide receivers. And I think that the expectation of Dylan Raiola being the best quarterback in the country is obviously too high. But the expectation of Dylan Raiola at some point in his career being a top 10 quarterback in the country is not at all. Is not at all, in my opinion. And when Dana says, though, making the routine plays routinely, I don't immediately think of the Lindenmeyer pass, and I don't think of the Banks throw against Ohio State. What I think of is early in the game against Indiana when Thomas Fedoni is running a crossing route right in front of him, and Dylan is looking downfield to a post being run into two safeties, and Fedoni is just wide open. The routine play is stop looking and just throw the shorter pass.
You saw
right?
the same thing in the not 100% the same, but he didn't throw it to Harburg running across the middle
Yes.
against Boston College.
and it's just kind of one of those things where the routine play is take the 5 yards in front of you, right? Just take the small passes, take the quick, and that is the biggest thing I think we saw from the transition from Satterfield to Holgorsen, because I won't forget it. So they lose that USC game. They lost it. They should have won it, but they lost it. But the offense looked different. The offense straight up just looked different, even though they only scored 13 points on offense. The offense looked different. One of the very first plays of Dana Holgorsen being the offensive coordinator for Nebraska was set 1-2, 3-step drop, hitch. Banks ran a curl. Before he was even curling, the ball was on. Right? And it was just a quick, like, hey, he's open, pin it. Hey, he's open, pin it. Like, those are just some of the things I think Dylan was missing earlier in the year. That if you can get to the point where that is a consistent thing of just cut, bang, cut, bang, cut, bang. Doesn't need to be 20 yards down the field. Doesn't need to be 35 yards down the field. You can just do that, you're gonna be good. But if you're going to be great and you're going to have, you're going to reach the expectations that maybe some people have for you, you're going to have to hit that long pass at some point.
Talent is going to have to meet execution.
Yeah. At just some and it's just at just some point, you're going to have a guy streaking down the sideline. You're just going to have to put it on him. You're just going to have to hit it. And you're going to have to execute those big plays that you haven't been able to execute before. And I don't know if that necessarily comes down to Dana. I just think it comes down to Dylan and the work that he's put in and him getting better as a quarterback. Because there's a lot that Dana can do from a schematic perspective and from a play calling perspective. But there's a lot that Dylan has to do from just a Raiola has to be better perspective.
So it's very similar to what we were talking about with the final years of Scott Frost, where it's the coaching can do this, but execution can do that.
Yeah, but I think that this is a whole other ballpark.
Well, this is taking it to a new level.
This is a completely different level.
That's trying to survive and trying to scratching and clawing to put yourself in a position to make a bowl game. This is what can you do to go to the next level now that you not only made a bowl game last year, but you won a bowl game.
The best way I can describe it is Scott Frost at the end took up 5 darts and he just threw all 5 darts at the board. And he was hoping he was going to hit a triple 20 or a bullseye. And that's how I viewed it. I view this and the hiring of Dana and the hiring of Eckler and the hiring of Braden and the hiring of Butler and the having Phil Snow being in the role that he is Rule taking his 5 darts and he's just lining them all up one by one, and just throwing them at the board and trying to hit the target as best as he can.
The Ted Lasso barbecue sauce.
Like, this is just one of those things where it's just more tightly put together. It's hard comparing those two eras because I just think that this one is just so much more professional in terms of how things are run, how things are done, how things are executed, how a culture is built.
The level is different, but the point remains: the players have to do it. Like, at the end of the day, the players have to do what's in front of them. And as we talked about breaking a curse or not, the players can put themselves in better positions for when that ball does hit the turf. And you're waiting to see which way is it going to bounce. And all the fans are holding their breath saying, here we go again. If you're in a better position as a team because you've had the better coaching and you're more talented and you're executing at a higher level.
If Nebraska football goes from can they be a better organization and have better coaching If they go from that to graduating to, do they have the dudes? Do they just straight up, do they have the dudes? I think that's a massive step forward. And I'll explain that later. And we might get into it with Sam McKewon, who's going to be coming up next year at the end of this break. But that is a conversation we're going to have because a lot of the convo, a lot of the discourse about Nebraska football is the organization, the professionalism, the culture, can you just do the simple things that a lot of other teams across the country are doing? There is the other conversation of, do you just have the players? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that at some point in the show, because I think that's it's a place that you do want to be in. It's a place you don't want to be. And I'll explain to you later why that is. Sam McKewon coming up next here on Gary and Matt on 1620.
When replacing your roof, entrusted to the MVPs in Omaha, Moose Roofing. Pat and the crew, they've been around since 1996. They've done over 15,000 roofs. They're local. They're here before the storm. They're here during the storm. They're here after the storm. And they're going to provide you a peace of mind in protecting your most valuable asset, which is your home. Now, Moose Roofing, what makes them different is their highly durable lifetime roofing solutions. They've got ventilation expertise and excellent service. The big thing they do, and it's a huge customer service thing, not only do they make sure the job is done properly, that the site looks great, but they're going to help you navigate the ever-increasingly difficult insurance process. They are locally owned. They've got a top-notch reputation. Just ask anybody that has had Moose Roofing work with them. Contact them today. You know, storm season's coming up. You don't want to be caught short-handed. Go with the best. It's Moose Roofing. Contact them today. Online at mooseroofing.com. That's mooseroofing.com.
So close, yet so far from the beginning of the college football season, just 4 days away. We are 9 days away from being in Kansas City, from watching the Huskers play the Cincinnati Bearcats. And then we're just 3 weeks away from the NFL season. We bring in fellow Bears fan, Mr. Sam McEwen. Sam of the Omaha World Herald, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How
That's
are you
good.
guys?
I'm good. It's
Preseason champs.
me and Caleb today. Gary's on a vacation. I got to ask you, did you watch the Bills-Bears game, and how fired up were you after that first drive?
Well, I've been a Bears fan my whole life, so I'll be fired up when they make the playoffs. But I mean, of course I watched it. Yeah, I mean, I loved it. It was great to watch, and I mean, if that's how the offense is going to look, then they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
They're in a tough division. They're in the best division in football, where the fourth team in that division is probably as good as the second team in the AFC West. But that's just the way that football works. There's been many years when the NFC North has not been very good.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Bears they'll have to fight and claw, and hopefully they can get to 9 or 10 wins. I think they've got a lot of talent at receiver, probably more than they've had in a very long time, which is rare for the Bears. They don't have a lot of talent at receiver. They never have, ever. And so got to use it. Got to use it to their advantage and hope they can win early in the season so that when the weather kicks in late in the year, they're not in that situation. Once the Bears build a dome, they will be one of the best. Seriously, they'll be one of the best teams in the NFL. It's kept them back. It's held them back.
You and I both know that going to that stadium. That stadium is not conducive to playing good football outside. It's not.
So it's not conducive to playing quarterback football.
No.
And that's what the league's become. It was conducive to Mike Ditka football in the
Sure.
1980s.
It's an incredible point.
It was conducive to that, and
Yeah.
and that's but the sport started to change in the 80s and in the early 90s, and they haven't been very good since because they just didn't get ahead of that curve. And now they're going to try, and hopefully the dome is built. I don't love indoor football per se, but that's just the reality of the deal. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings are in a pretty tough wintry climate, but they play much better football, and they have much better offensive players because they play inside. And I understand that the Green Bay Packers have been a unicorn and getting 2 NFL Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back, but that's not happening again, and you're seeing the result.
Yeah.
All right, Sam, to college football in a place that has been playing good football, but their coach hasn't gotten them over the top. Yesterday, we heard Damian Harris on CBS Sports say if James Franklin doesn't win a national championship, he should be fired at Penn State. I think we in Nebraska hear those types of things, and we would take the exact success that Franklin has had, but we've seen what that looks like when you fire more productive coaches. What are your thoughts on that for the Nittany Lions and James Franklin's future?
Well, I mean, that's a horse crap statement by
Yes.
Damian Harris. So, I mean, okay, whatever. That's fine to say that, but that obviously, if you make it to the playoff semifinals, he's not going anywhere. Dan Lanning's not getting fired because he lost in the quarterfinal round after going 13-0. And so the goal of what you want to do is you want to put yourself in position to win a national championship every year if you're at Penn State. Same's true at Nebraska. They want to obviously get there. And Franklin's done a really good job of recruiting the kind of athletes to that school that give them the opportunity to achieve that. I'm not saying that they're going to. I do have them preseason number 1, so obviously I think they're going to be a good team. But once you get in the playoffs, then it comes down to injuries and other things. And Franklin's one of the best coaches in college football. He's doing this at a school that, for anyone who's been there, is very isolated. It's not Austin, Texas. It's certainly not even Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's certainly not Miami, Florida. It's not even Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's in the middle of the mountains, and it's a small town. And guys want to go there, and they want to play for Franklin. So it's a unique setting, and they've built a really good program there. And I respect the way they play. I think it's probably going to come down to whether they can make the plays they need to make when they need to late in games throwing the ball. And last year they came up short, and they went out and signed, I think, 4 transfer receivers. I think their intention is to not come up short in those scenarios. But Franklin's not going anywhere. If Franklin's going somewhere, it's to go take a different job because he did a good job at Penn State. So the job that everybody should watch is USC. Now, if Lincoln Riley does not have a good season this year, he may well get fired, even though he's got an $80 million buyout or something. So, you know, they're not going to be too patient with Lincoln Riley in LA. I think they need to go 8-4, 9-3 this year. I actually think they will do that, but I think they need to for him to stay on.
Does the statement from Matt Rule saying, I think we have 3 great running backs, does that calm any of the worries for you in terms of what that backfield has? Or are we just simply at this point with the RB room, we gotta see it to believe it?
Well, yeah, both of those could be true. Matt Rule knows a lot more, has forgotten more football than I'll ever know.
Sure.
But rarely does he say something that changes what I think, because I think I understand what the motivation is behind it. There's moments, you know, like when Donovan Raiola says that this is the best unit they've ever had. That actually resonates a lot with me because Donovan Raiola doesn't say anything. He's not a hype man. That's just not what he does.
Uh-huh.
So if he's saying it, then it's probably really, really true. And so I've noticed that about him. But I think part of what Rule's doing is he needs to get these guys to believe that they can go in and make plays. And he doesn't have the luxury of being difficult and terse and being Nick Saban about it. They need these guys to play now and to be good. I will say that the most telling statement to me about what he thinks of the running backs is that, you know, they weren't gonna completely unload the wallet, take all the money out of the wallet for Marty Brett.
Yeah.
Because if they had done that, I think he would say, well, obviously they felt like they had to go get a guy. They didn't do that. So and I think one of the reasons they didn't do that is because you don't do that for a running back. That's just not, you got to trust the guys you got in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And B, I think they feel like they got a real steal in Mekhi Nelson. And then Isaiah Mosey, I think, can do many of the things that, you know, a larger back could do. But Nelson is the guy they thought, wow, we got a guy here that nobody really knows anything about. And when he plays, he's going to take people by surprise. I think that's more of the impetus behind we've got great running backs. I think Nelson is a potentially, you know, big time player. Maybe not this year, but maybe. You never know.
Yeah, get those reps in now, and then you see where they grow. Sam, still 9 days out from the first game, but through camp and now into preseason, but not game week. How tough is this week for the players and the coaches mentally and physically, that, like Matt and I, as we look into football, it's like it's so close, but it's still so far away?
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty tough for them. It would be tougher if they had school. So school starts next week.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that next week will feel like they're not even really starting school. They're going to go to class. And then they're going to basically be going to Kansas City. So.
Yeah, they barely do school in the first week at UNL anyway.
Right.
I can tell you that.
So, yeah, it would have been a bigger irritation, I think, if they were playing the waiting game and simultaneously going to class. But I think it'll go fast enough, and at some point they'll dial into Cincinnati and get going. I think so many of the things about the first game are about the fundamentals. If Nebraska's got a physically superior team and being able to wear Cincinnati down in the heat, being able to, you know, to deliver blow and absorb one. So I think they've prepared well for that. I don't know that this is a schematically tricky team. Satterfield kind of does a lot of the same things that he's always been doing, so you can kind of go back on tape. I don't think they're going to get in 5 wides and do things that maybe, you know, they're not expecting. And so I don't think this is going to be that kind of game. I think they know what Cincinnati is going to bring to the table, and Nebraska's going to go have to take that game. It's going to be a game about physical imposition and will. It's not going to be tricky strategy. Not that many games are, but you know what I mean. There's games where you're like, man, we got to put extra time into this because we know what we're going to face is a challenge unto itself.
Well, Illinois last year, you get to overtime, and when I talked with some of the Illinois guys earlier in the week, they said you have to watch this play where a guy comes in and he checks in with the official that he's got a different number. And what did they do? Well, that guy is now eligible, and he goes in and he scores. And it's like, okay, well, that's one of those tricky things that you talk about, Sam.
Yeah, that's true. And I think I think Illinois's got a fun, diverse offense. I don't know. I don't know what the most complex offense they're going to face this year is. Probably schematically, maybe Michigan State. They do a lot.
I think USC will give them a run for their money. I think USC will get.
Yeah, but USC does a lot of the same concepts that Culverson does. USC's got a good scheme,
but
I agree. But Michigan State does probably the most different things. Like Jonathan Smith is kind of a Mike Riley disciple, and Mike Riley could. Sure. I mean, he was like an encyclopedia of formation. So
good point.
He was like he really understands.
Yeah.
He really understood that stuff, and he, they had the lack of success they had, but it wasn't really because of the offensive scheme. So I think Nebraska will be all right with Cincinnati.
We'll get you out here on this real quickly. Sam McKeown, the Omaha World Herald, by the way, always giving us great content. One surprise team in the Big Ten. One team you're kind of looking at, and you're like, man, I don't know if a lot of people understand that this team is going to give some teams a run for their money, in your opinion.
Oh, good question. Well, I think Indiana's going to be good again. I think Illinois is going to surprise to the negative. I think they'll come back to the pack, which I've kind of said and written.
Yes, you have. You stood firmly on that.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe Washington, because Washington's good at home, and they've got some good teams coming to Seattle, and maybe they knock a couple of those teams off, and they make it interesting. If you're looking for a team that could actually make a jump, it is Michigan State. We don't really know a lot about what they're going to do defensively. They weren't great defensively last year. Maybe they'll get better there. Offensively, they bring back a good receiver. They're developing their running backs. Their quarterback is talented. I don't, for example, this is a good example. I don't think that the guy at Oregon is much more talented than the guy at Michigan State. I really don't. I don't. Like physical talent.
I don't disagree.
And so I think do they have the pieces around that quarterback up there? Because he's erratic. I mean, he'll make mistakes throwing the ball, but so will Dante Moore. So, I don't know exactly how it's all going to come together, but I think Michigan State is a team that could be dangerous. And you just, there's somewhere along the way, somebody's going to surprise somebody. If Wisconsin had an easier schedule, I might say Wisconsin, but I think Wisconsin will probably be pretty good the first half of the season. And if they can start 4-2, maybe that program can keep some hope through what is going to be a difficult schedule. But if they start 2-4 and they lose a bunch of close games, they'll probably go in the tank, and that'll be that. But Wisconsin's a team to watch too. You never know. If they start quick, they're going to be tough.
Billy Edwards Jr., the Maryland transfer over at Wisconsin. I think that's actually going to be a pretty good fit for them and their offensive things you're doing over there. And I love your shout out on Aiden Childs. I think Aiden Childs is going to be a baller this year, Sam. That's a good shout. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's good.
Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next Monday, where we will only be 3 days away from the start of the season when we see you next.
All right. Take care.
See you. Sam McKeown, Omaha World Herald. Coming up next, Big Ten's doing something stupid again. That means the sun's coming up for another day. We'll talk about it here on Gary and Matt. You watch Happy Days growing up? Not growing up, because that was before your time. But have you watched it before?
Yes. I watched it at times, yeah.
Fan?
It was fine. Like, it's fine.
We had a guy who I worked with. His nickname was Potsy.
Okay.
And that was awesome. I
Yeah.
thought that was so sick. I was literally friends with that guy, probably only specifically because we called him Potsy, and I thought it was so cool. You ever watch the episode where Henry Winkler jumps the shark?
Well, that's literally where we get the term jumps the shark.
So can you not spoil? Like, that's where I was going. Let me do a professional. You know what?
I didn't know. I
hired
wasn't
me,
briefed on this
you've,
segment.
And you've trained me in many different ways. I was doing a very creative lead-in to a segment here. Something that you've taught me before. And do you know what you did? You jumped the shark. And
Nope,
you stopped me.
That's not the way that's used. No.
The Big Ten has jumped the shark. I mean, from the off season, they have kind of jumped the shark when it comes to the entire college football playoff expansion and plans and extravaganza and what they've wanted to do. And I didn't really talk about it yesterday because I just thought it was so dumb and it was so stupid and I didn't want to pay attention to it and I didn't want to give light to it because I think it's awful. But I guess I realized in my young career that it's something that we do have to talk about in the manner that it might happen. And a lot of people, and it was a big subject yesterday. And it's one of those things where it's getting some late legs in terms of people talking about it, especially from a national standpoint. But apparently the Big Ten is wondering if they want to go to 24 or 28 teams in the college football playoff. I don't think I need to say anything other than everybody knows there are not 28 teams who can win the college football playoff, who can win the national championship.
Right.
I think everybody knows that there aren't 12 teams that can win the college national championship. There just aren't. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. But I do not understand how the powers that be in the Big Ten just do not understand that the model for the NCAA tournament, more teams, does not work for football. I don't get it.
I don't think there are 16 teams that can win the NBA championship.
Yeah. But I think that's one of those things where it's a completely,
and that's a significantly higher percentage of that league.
But I would argue that the NBA is fighting against that too. Like, I think the NBA has an incredibly forgettable first round of the playoffs.
Oh yeah, and I didn't remember the play-in round.
Yeah, and not a lot of people pay attention to it, and not a lot of people are locked into it. I would argue that the NBA playoffs really gets a lot of run when we get to the semifinals.
Exactly.
And there's probably only one or two series in the first round of the NBA playoffs that really matter and you pay attention to. I would argue that I'm just Matt McMaster for less teams in playoffs. Every single league. I want less teams in the playoffs in the NFL. I want less teams in the playoffs in the MLB. I want less teams in the playoffs in the NBA. I want less teams in the playoffs in college football.
Now, here is
every single league. I want less teams.
Here is where a 20 plus, 24, 28 that was being talked about over the last 48 hours. It removes conference championship games. So you get started earlier. And
I don't care about the schedule.
Well, no. I don't care about conference championship games.
Oh, I don't give a damn about conference. I think actually.
Exactly. So that's the part where I go, okay, I can see, like, find the good in things. What can you see? Because there's plenty of looking at this and going, that's an awful idea. But what are things that you can pick and choose from it if you are going to update the format at some point? Because we are not in the final format of what the college football playoff is going to be.
God, no.
So whatever things are proposed, even if it's crap being thrown at the wall, what is something that you look at and go, I kind of like that. How could you use that? I like the no conference championship games. I like that part. Now, what I would want is if you are going, even if it's to, 16's the next logical step, and we're probably going to get to that. But if you ever did remove conference championship games and you got to 24 or 28, I want every FBS league represented in said playoff.
If you go to 28,
everybody gets one.
What is it, a cigarette? I mean, I
But-
don't know about that.
But if you're
I
talking,
I don't think I need a representative from the Sun Belt. No offense to the Sun Belt.
Why not?
But to me, it doesn't. It won't provide a competitive game, regardless of who they're playing.
okay, half the games aren't competitive anyway.
Which is why we shouldn't do it.
So why does it matter if they're from the
shouldn't do
Sun
it.
Belt or if they're team number
We
7
just
from the
shouldn't.
Big
The
Ten?
point is, we just shouldn't do it. It just shouldn't happen. I'm not
why
trying to.
why are they playing the games if there is
Look,
not at all
what
an
you-
avenue for them to win a championship?
But here's my thing.
If you are playing football in Conference
The avenue
USA,
for them to win a championship is get better players and have better coaches and play better football. That's the avenue for a championship. Now, is that unrealistic? Yes, it is.
you can go undefeated in Conference USA this year.
Oh, okay. That I
Mi-
agree with.
Mi-
but I'm
Missouri,
not-
Missouri State, first year in the FBS.
But
They
you-
can go undefeated
But
in
you-
Conference USA this year, and they will not. I guarantee you, undefeated Missouri State Bears would not be in the 12-team playoff this year. Undefeated.
I don't know.
Because Boise State would be higher ranked than
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
from the group of 5, and they would not be high enough ranked to get in that large.
But then you just kind of played the devil's advocate of, do you honestly think that either of those teams will win a national championship?
I don't care. I want them to have the chance to. If it's only okay, here are the 5 teams.
But you telling me that first off, 28 teams makes zero sense. It's too many games. It's not competitive enough games. The 28th team doesn't have a shot at winning the national title. We are just kind of wasting our time, and we're taking away the allure and accomplishment of making the college football playoff. Making the college football playoff, in my opinion, should always be an accomplishment. It always should be a very big thing that you should do. When you get to 28 teams, making the college football playoff doesn't become as much as an accomplishment as it becomes a deviant toward the season that you had. And what I mean by that is how can you not have done it? How did you not accomplish this? Right? I'm not a fan of that. Secondly, your idea of putting every single FBS, having a representative of every single FBS conference team in the 2018 playoff,
other than the Pac-2.
while commendable, to me is putting makeup on a pig. Okay, I do not need more playoff teams. I do not need more teams that I know aren't going to be competitive. I don't need to see more blowouts. Okay, I don't need to see Ohio State.
You're going
kick
to
the
see
crap
the
out of
same
South
number
Alabama.
of blowouts, whether somebody
No,
is
you're not.
from the
No,
MAC
you're not.
or they're team number 6 from the Big Ten.
Maybe that's fine, but that is why I'm firmly against the 2018 playoff. Because if you are, or the 2014 playoff, because if you're talking about a 12-team playoff, the 6th team from the Big Ten is not going to make it. So you're just going to have probably the top 4 teams of the Big Ten, the top 4 teams from the SEC, and then, whoever else from the Mountain West, the ACC, the Big 12, whatever it may be. And that is competitive. And that will be somewhat fun.
With a 4-team playoff, we got blowouts.
I think that was more of a representation of where college football was at the time. Because in the 4-team playoff, you still had an incredibly condensed model of
With
where
the
talent was
BCS
going.
choosing your national championship game and only 2 teams being there, you got blowouts.
No, I know that. I'm aware of that.
So
And
the
that was
blowout argument
but
does
that was-
nothing for me.
Well, wait. The blowout argument does nothing for you in that era of college football when you had more condensed talent. Now that we are in the era of NIL, now we are in the era of money. The talent is spread out. I wouldn't call it full parity because you still have teams like Texas and Ohio State and the regulars that are at the top, right? But last year we saw the 7th team make a run, right? We did see the 7th team make a run. The talent has spread out. We're talking about Dylan Raiola, a 5-star quarterback who is now on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Without the era of where we're in college football, that would not happen. And that's happening everywhere. That's happening at SMU. That's happening at Texas Tech. That's happening there.
Thank
Is
you
it
for
to
making
the 28 teams? Is it to 28? Hell no, it's not to 28. It's not to 28.
Thank you for making my argument for why there should be more teams with a direct path to a playoff, because the talent is
Not
more
to
spread out.
28. Not to 28.
I'm not saying it's got to be 28 or 40 like Matt Rule
God,
joked
no.
about. No. But what I am saying is just because of the league that you play in, the Big Ten should not get, because of the league that
Sure.
they play in, should not get 7 automatic bids.
Oh, I'm not making
And
that
just
point.
because-
I'm
no,
not
no,
arguing
no, no,
that
no.
at all.
And just because you play in the MAC or the Mountain West, you shouldn't have a path to the playoff.
They do have a path to the playoff.
They don't, though.
They have a smaller path to the playoff, and it's because they are not putting in as many resources and don't have as much talent and don't have those. It's a smaller path. It's a smaller path, but they still have a path.
Georgia Southern.
Cincinnati.
No.
Every team that has done those conferences that we've seen in this playoff experiment have not won. Cincinnati got blown out. Boise State got their ass kicked by Penn State. Okay, like these lower level teams that we talk about that you want to give more of a path to the playoff have not shown that when they're given a path they end up beating the best teams.
So,
we have been proven right time in and time out.
So here's this. Let's say Georgia Southern, Army, Miami, and then Boise State.
Okay.
They all, those 4 all go undefeated. They're all from 4 different leagues. One of them will be in the playoff
But
this
that
fall.
wouldn't. But that is a hypothetical that when that happens, your point can be proven. Okay, it's very unlikely
And,
that happens.
Here's the thing: an undefeated Florida State not making the 14 playoff.
But that was more. You know why that happened? That was an injury. That was an injury area.
Doesn't matter. They won the games.
I don't want to get into a Florida State shouldn't or shouldn't have gotten it.
No, but that's the
And
thing.
by the way,
That's a
you're
hypothetical.
giving more teams to the playoff, to the path to the playoffs last year, right? That's what we did. We gave 8 more teams a path to the playoffs last year. SMU still got beat badly. Penn State dominated Boise State. Even Ohio State kicked the crap out of Tennessee. You got Indiana, who a lot of people thought shouldn't have been there. They were the 11th team in. They got beat not by a wide point margin, but got beaten physically down by Notre Dame.
The playoffs last year were more fun than any single 4-team playoff we had.
After the first round. After the first round. After we got past the Clemson Texas game and we got past the
No, they
SMU
were
Penn
still
State
fun to
game.
watch those games on campus and having playoff implications.
But I don't want you to spin this toward I'm arguing against the 12-team playoff. I'm just using what happened in the 12-team playoff to tell you that going to 28 is just going to make it even worse and even more boring and even more blowouts. All right, this was supposed to be a 5-minute segment and turned into a 12-minute argument. Coming up next, we're talking about John Butler and the defense. Go into where you listen to Gary Matt on 1620. This is like the new Sweet Caroline. This song.
I can't hear you over the song.
This is
In my
like the new
headset.
Sweet Caroline. This song. It's just a lot of. Anytime this song comes on, I feel everybody knows what it is. Too many
But-
people know the lyrics. Then
Too,
there's
too many people know the lyrics to Mr. Brightside.
a lot of people know the lyrics
Yeah.
to Mr. Brightside.
Well, everyone knows. That's not
Exactly.
too many.
Yeah.
No, I know. I'm just saying. Just a lot of people know the words of the song, and then it's like you have the filler words, right, that come in between the song when the singer isn't singing, when
Mhm.
the fillers aren't singing, like Sweet Caroline. Bum bum bum.
Well, isn't it?
So good, so good. That's
Is it,
not it.
is it Alabama or Tennessee?
It's Dixieland Delight. I think it's
No.
Alabama.
No, yeah. Who plays Mr. Brightside and they yell
Oh,
F blah blah.
I think every school does that, but we were. And this is how you know that Nebraska really doesn't have that true conference rival, because when I was a freshman, we would be at the bar, and this song would come on, and we would chant it as FOSU, FOSU. Okay, and-
why?
I don't know. And then well, and by the way, let me make this very clear. When I was at that bar as a freshman, that was when you that wasn't at night when they were like checking
Yeah.
IDs. Like you had to like go in there, like you
Mhm.
could just hang
Good
out
save. Good
there.
save.
Yeah.
No. I just wanted to put it out there that like they weren't letting underage people in. They were not. It was just you could hang out at that bar during that time. I just want to make it very clear. And then when I was old enough to go at night to the bar,
Mhm.
and you have to show your ID and they check it, and then like you're 21, you get into the bar. This song would come on and it would be FKU.
Oh, okay.
As in
yeah.
Kansas.
Yeah.
And then when I was a senior, 22 at this point, going to that bar, it became FCU, as in Colorado. So 3 different instances, 3 different F these teams, which I just don't. What do you call Iowa? UI?
It's kind of hard to like rhyme with Mr.
FUY.
Brightside.
FUY.
At Florida University
I know,
International.
I know.
Who started the
Same.
KU chant though?
I have no clue.
I
I
wonder.
have no idea who.
Probably
ran it.
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri's probably I think it
Missouri
might
or
have been
K
Missouri.
State.
Yeah, Missouri or K State would be the 2 for sure.
I think it's just a bad idea to just keep switching schools in terms of who you're saying F to in Mr. Brightside.
Why,
Just-
why not? It's pretty universal.
Yeah,
No. Just stick with one school is what I'm saying.
Whoever you're playing that week,
there you go. Good job. That's a good call, Caleb.
and
I
then
like that.
because you can hit.
FHCU. FHCU.
Oh, going
Well,
after.
no, because it
I
can
don't
be
think-
Going
whoever
after
your
Houston
rival is.
Christensen.
It can be whoever your rival is. So let's say like last year when you have the Colorado game going. Let's say Mr. Brightside is hitting it up in Memorial Stadium, and the student section starts going FCU,
Yeah.
and then you get a couple of beats and you go and Iowa too.
And Iowa too. Yeah.
Like you can
It's
throw a
not
little in
Dixieland
Iowa
Delight.
too onto
Okay.
everything.
Speaking about bad ideas, Oklahoma is deciding to sell media access to fans. Let me tell you, first off, I don't think it's a bad idea for the reason that you think it's a bad idea that the listener might think I'm trying to communicate here. But let me read this. This is from CNN. AP publishes. Oklahoma is offering fans a chance to attend post-game press conferences, but it won't be cheap. It's one of the Sooner Magic Memories offerings the program has created to give fans greater access this season. The cost for 2 people to sit in on the media session after the Oklahoma-Michigan non-conference showdown on September 6th is $692. For the Southeastern Conference home opener, September 20th against Auburn, it's $576. This is, for the life of me, this is, I think some people might think that I might say, this is media access and you should be credentialed and this is a honor tradition and they shouldn't just be giving it away and this is completely ruin the integrity and potential of press conferences and so on and so forth. I don't believe that. Okay. I can't believe anybody would pay this amount of money to go to a press conference. I'm going to tell you something right
That's
now.
being streamed for free.
I'm telling you something right now. Post-game press conferences, not special enough to spend $700 on. Okay? Just not worth that money at all to go to a post-game presser as a fan. Now, I like them. I enjoy them. They're very cool. I'm very thankful I have the opportunity to go to post-game press conferences and ask coaches questions and listen to what they're saying and hear them articulate their thoughts, okay, to the media of what they think happened, okay? At the same time, $700? $700 could go to that thing?
But it's a thing, and it's access that they've never had before.
I don't know. I mean, I can't really. Now, the pressers during the week, you get a lot of good tidbits. I feel like you get a lot of nuggets. There's a lot of very interesting moments, like those Mickey Joseph press conferences. You had a couple like, oh, that was a fun moment. Matt Rule always has those kind of cooler moments in his, midweek press conferences and whatnot. But this is ridiculous. $700 to just sit down. I mean, do you have a particular Matt Rule post-game press conference memory where you're like, holy crap, I can't believe you said that?
Not that I can't believe you said that, but it is nice to hear from the coaches. It's nice to hear from the players in the immediacy of the game. So I can understand you're paying for the experience of that. You might hear something great. You might not. It might be after a win. It might be after a loss. You're kind of like you're taking your chances with it. But you're spending. Here's the thing: the people that have enough money to do this are not you and me anyway.
It's a good point.
Like it is a different demographic than you and me.
Sure, but I do want to say this. Like, part of me thinks this is Oklahoma taking advantage of people, because I think that there are some people who will read that and be like, "Oh my God, never seen before fan access. Holy crap, this is going to be so cool. What a cool experience."
It would sell out at Nebraska.
With $700?
It would be gone for the season next week.
Really?
700 though?
I don't know.
That seems really steep.
See, I am, by the way,
It's like 300.
I want to make this very clear. I don't really have
But not every game 700, by the way.
as long as
Oh, yeah. So,
yeah,
okay.
as long as it's
My bad.
communicated, hey, you can't ask questions. People are at work.
There's a specific space for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
As
They would
long
do
as-
that. And I
as
guarantee
long as it-
Oklahoma's doing that
And
too.
if that was, I think it's cool. I have zero problem with that.
They're not sitting in the front row getting the questions to the coaches.
No.
They are
I don't-
observing
they're
and being
and
present.
and I can see how that could be really cool, that you are 15 feet away from your favorite head coach, and you're watching them talk about
Or
the game.
you're sitting there and you are 15 feet from the head coach. You are 5 feet to the left of Sam McEwen asking a follow-up question
Sure.
on, hey, this went wrong, this went right. Like that could be very cool to have that access.
I think part of me thinks it's a cool idea. As long.
Did you see all the other things that they're doing too? With
No, I
their
didn't.
their
I just
Sooner
saw
Magic memories?
giving me the other idea.
So yes, they've got that. You can take pictures on the 50-yard line. Basically pregame photo session. Red Rocket Ride, which
That
is
sounds
very
like-
poorly
it is
named.
So poorly named.
You can ride the Red Rocket down Lindsay Street
What
during the
is-
parade before the Walk of Champions.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
Walk of
My dirty mind.
here. So Walk of Champions from the field. You can have a ribbon board message. You can join the high five tunnel. You can be on the field at halftime. Post-game media access, game ball delivery. So you can be the VIP fan who delivers the game
See,
ball
that
to the.
that is, but
That
how
makes it
much is
better.
that? I mean, that's got to be.
You can watch
Gotta be
the
expensive.
flyover from the roof.
Okay. So are these all in one package, or is this
No, these are all different things.
different things you can do? So you can
Yes.
kind of mix and match. So essentially, they've turned an Oklahoma football game into Disney World.
You can see how they
I mean, that's literally
how they
what
prepare
are.
the live horses for Boomer and Sooner.
We got to go to the castle, and we have a picture day with the castle with Princess Anna, and then we got to make sure that we're really quick because we have fast passes to the.
But what is this? They have
Alice in Wonderland
what?
ride.
But what has Oklahoma done? They have looked at all of the everything that they have going on leading up to game day and game day specific, and decided that it is inventory.
No, it's smart, and I commend them for that. And I really think that Nebraska will do a very similar thing. I'm just pointing this out that
I think every major
is-
program should do a
it-
similar
it
thing.
it is unprecedented though to essentially give media access, to pay for media access, which that would be a whole other dynamic. That would just be a very different dynamic to what people are used to. And I could very well, I'm not going to get on the soapbox and say media availability is only for media. We can't just be giving that away.
There are enough people,
But there are enough people
okay,
who would think that.
One, there are enough people who I think would pay for it. There are also enough people that I think cosplay as media and get credentials to certain things anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a whole other combo too.
So yeah, it's not like this sacred space.
No.
That
I'm not. Like I said, I don't really. Just as long as there is an understanding that there are actually people who are doing,
who are working.
who
That's
are
their
working,
livelihood. That's
who
what
are
they're doing.
actually,
But-
trying to pay the bills.
but yes,
like,
I
as
do-
long as that is understood, and I think it's cool. I think it's dope. I think it's crazy. It's $700. I don't know, man. You think it would? You think it
There-
would sell out?
There are other games that are 500. Like it's not every game is
know.
700.
Well, I think the things that
I
are
don't-
added on kind of help
I
out
don't think
with the
it's- I don't
700 a
think it's
bit.
worth-
Like,
I don't think it's worth. I don't think media.
I mean,
I
you've been
don't
able
know,
to
it's
experience
worth
press
it.
conferences though, so you don't have that in your mind to think like, because
No,
there's some people that
I
would
don't
never
think I'm
experience
at
this in
the-
their
no,
life.
you're totally right, Jay.
Yeah.
Because there are people who I'm not the person. I can't really put a number on
And by the way, is this number? So it's the cost for 2 people.
it. Okay.
So because the way I
guess
read
it's-
that is,
sure.
so yes, for the Oklahoma Michigan game is $700 for 2 people, so
Okay.
$350 each.
So you'll have to do
I
two people
really
no matter
wonder.
what.
I
There's no
really,
single
I would
packages.
love some emails or some calls or some tweets from people who are Husker fans to say, would you? That's my question to you. You're listening to this right now. Would you pay money, and how much money would you pay to a post-game press conference? And maybe more so, why specifically? And what would your budget be? Because I think it's very creative. I think as long as there is an understanding of like, hey, we can't be too loud and you're not allowed to ask questions and it's just you're there to watch it. I think it's a cool experience for fans. And I think it's very creative from Oklahoma. At the same time, that price point, press conferences are cool. They're not $700 cool. That's a lot.
But again, we are not that demographic.
I guess.
And we see it all of the time. So we're viewing it through a very different lens than who the target audience that Oklahoma athletics is going after. It's the people
Sure.
who are already big time donors or at least medium time donors
Yeah.
and saying, yeah, for this one game, I want to have this access to a thing that the regular everyday Joe doesn't get to have access to.
I don't know how happy I would have been to go to the press conference after the 2021 Michigan.
Well, and that's what so Lane on YouTube said spend $700 to see Rule talk after losing 56-7 to Indiana last year. That's in retrospect. You didn't know that game was going to go that way.
Yeah. God. I can't. I mean, I guess it would be cool if like they were to beat Michigan week 4 and to have that aha moment and you go to the post-game presser afterwards and you see like what-
You're feeling the euphoria of that game.
yeah.
And you go down there. Think about being in the post-game presser when Nebraska beat Wisconsin last year.
See, I do think though that Rule is the coach that would make it more worth it than most coaches because there are some coaches who don't give a damn.
Well, because he probably knows almost every big-time donor by name.
Well, I think Matt Rule also is just great at press conferences and just great at talking to media, talking to fans. And it's almost as if he's putting on an act, he should be an actor. Because sometimes it seems like he actually does enjoy it.
He's great at a mic.
On
He's good.
Saturday, he talked for 35 minutes and it seemed like he was pretty damn happy to be there.
Well, and he was, and I wasn't
likes
there
to
because
talk.
I was playing in a celebrity first responder
Yeah, you had
softball
a
game
hit.
at Haymarket Park.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I got a hit. It
some
was phenomenal.
some of the captains over in the police academy told me that.
Oh, did they?
I
But
used to love to play with them though.
I was on the LFR team.
Shout out Captain Todd Cutsian.
But it sounded like Rule was hanging out before the presser started too. So like he like if you're there for a press conference, that is access that the everyday Joe doesn't have.
Yeah. I mean, $700 is probably not that expensive. I just think it's wild that that's what it's priced at because. I mean, it's just taking
Because we're
you're
there.
taking advantage. You're taking you're taking
It's not
advantage of a crowd.
taking advantage of it. It's giving them an opportunity for something that they haven't had before.
Wait, I am in support of it.
But
I'm
you
in
said you're
support.
taking advantage of the fans.
because I don't think it's worth $700.
It's worth whatever people are willing to pay.
Exactly. And I think I think you make a good point. But to me, it's just like I think it's. I would like them to lower the cost because I actually do think it's a cool thing.
And maybe it'll be cheaper for Nebraska when they roll this out. When they roll this
they'll
out.
do this. I wonder what the reaction will be from some of the media members. I don't think. I don't think though. I'm going to be honest with you. At the same time, I don't think I'm the proper person to talk about it too, of whether or not media members will like it or dislike it because I'm not writing a story typically. I'm more so grabbing audio and I'm more so asking questions, and it's more of a note-taking thing for me for radio and not necessarily a, hey, I got to hit deadline. So we'll see. If some people are bothered by it, I do think you make a good point. I think this is probably something that Nebraska's looking at that I wouldn't be surprised because Troy Dannon has talked about we got to find other ways to make revenue other than raising the ticket prices. And if they think that this is something that they can do and they can do it in a manner that it doesn't disrupt people doing their job,
yeah,
I think that's something they should do. They just got to make sure it doesn't disrupt people.
Inventory's inventory.
Hey, Blur Tailgate is doing a giveaway, and you can win 2 tickets to the Ultimate Blur Tailgate. You can join Blur for a pregame party inside Kauffman Stadium, just steps away from the field at Arrowhead as the Huskers take on Cincinnati. Will be on August 28th, 2025, where you can kick off your season in style with the Ultimate Blur Tailgate. Go to 1620thezone.com, put in your email agreeing to the terms and conditions that apply, and enter yourself in the opportunity to win 2 tickets to the Ultimate Blur Tailgate. Coming up next, we talk about John Butler and his talk at the podium yesterday. You're listening to Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hey, Lincoln Park is headed to the Metro Zero World Tour with special guest Gene Dawson. Is on Friday, August 29th at the CHI Health Center in Omaha. Listen all week to the Connor Happer Show on Unsportsmanlike Conduct to have a chance to win your way to the show. You can find more details at 1620thezone.com. Lincoln Park, you're into that.
Yeah.
It's your type of music.
I had someone ask, because I've become a regular segment on Jack Mitchell's show on KLIN, and they asked, they're like, hey, what kind of music do you like? We're going to make you an open. I was like, if I get an open, that means like I'm in now, right?
I know, right?
So they were like, what kind of
Shoot.
music do you like? Oh, this and this. And they're like, okay, yeah, I can make something like that. I was like, the way they said it, like they were not excited about the type of music I said.
What type of music did you say?
Kind of the mid 2000s
Yeah, I
alt
was about
rock,
to say.
emo. Not like
Like, okay, on a scale of like Black Parade to
Oh,
Weezer.
I love Black Parade.
Okay.
Evanescence, awesome. Like you can get it,
Yeah.
you can get into some stuff that is definitely more emo, but it was alt rock. It's the stuff that right now, when I listen to Sirius XM, which I pay for and it's not free like AM radio, I'm listening to Alt Nation.
Teenagers. That would be if I was honored enough to be a regular radio guest, that would be my intro.
Cause teenagers scare me.
Summer will bleed.
Yeah.
That'll be, and then you just put a bunch of stupid stuff that I say in between all of that.
Like Fall Out Boy pre-centuries.
I was gonna say the what I know Fall Out Boy to be and what you know Fall Out Boy to be are very different bands.
Like the Fall Out Boy, where it sounded constantly like he had marbles in his mouth.
Yeah. The actual like grunge.
Like that's
Rock.
that's what we wanted.
Yeah,
That's what I was
not the-
screaming
yeah,
at Hollow
yeah.
at homecoming and prom.
Not the hip hoppy Fall Out Boy that we have now been. Have they released a new album recently or anything like that?
Like they're always kind of doing stuff.
I feel like,
But-
all these
but you
bands-
get
it's
the-
incredible, man. We don't.
And it's great now. We're getting new stuff with Blink 182.
I'm a fan of them. I went through a tough time in my love life where I got into the pop grunge stuff.
Oh man, the
I
era,
was like ready. It was not like a full breakup, but I got my heart broken. And I was like, I've never really gotten into punk rock or anything like this before. This would probably be a pretty good time to do it.
but the early era when it was like this was new and it was
Yeah.
pop goes punk,
Sure.
and you were getting all
Sure.
of those.
Sure. I love Smashing Pumpkins on a different, kind of a.
Oh yeah,
a
you
more
can go back. You
different
go
genre.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Smashing
You get
Pumpkins.
some Nirvana.
Green Day. Can't
Of course,
Green Day.
Green Day.
Yeah.
Any Jack White. But you could go.
I have a Green Day poster.
But you could flip it even a little bit more and be like, you guys like some Real Big Fish? Well, you never listened to the soundtrack for Basketball?
I have a Dookie poster. The Dookie album
Yeah.
from Green Day.
Yeah.
God, that is such a good poster. So they don't really make those rock band posters like they used to. To be honest. And this always comes back to the whole they don't make things like they used to anymore argument, which is probably the easiest way to get anybody to agree with you now in this generation, in this era of just life and the society that we live in right now, is just to say they don't do that like they used to. You just say that sentence basically about anything. People will be like, God, you're so right. You're so good. Gas, they don't do it like they used to. Fast food, they don't do it like they used to.
But I will say
Rock music, not what it used to be. Now, back in my day, man.
Well, and I think some of that is when we're
Some of it is right. Some of it is correct.
some of it's
yes.
right, but also some of it, when you're talking about music, you emotionally attach to it in a different way when you're 14, 15, 16,
God.
17 years old.
There are
And now
so right.
and I say that because there's so much good music being made right now, and maybe it's because of the station I listen to, and it's not as poppy and top 40 as when I was growing up either. But like, I'm not as emotionally attached, but I recognize that I'm like, I want to keep listening to that. Like, that's a good song. I feel like I want to keep listening to that.
So I refuse to watch some movies that I watched growing up. because I know that if I rewatch them, they're going to be bad, and I'm going to hate
And you
them.
still want to have that nostalgic, emotional
I
attachment.
still want to think that the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies were awesome.
No, they were amazing.
And I still want to think that In Time with Cillian Murphy and Justin Timberlake was a great dystopian movie. Have you ever seen that?
that
one?
was
Yeah.
that
but,
like that was it was
but,
it was
but I've
genuinely-
been but
it was fun.
since then I've been told it's not. And the Leonard from Big Bang Theory was in that movie. It was honestly, you go back and you listen and you look at the In Time cast, kind of loaded cast from that movie. if we're
Not
being
not as
honest.
loaded as Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
That is a good point. Not as loaded as the 2016 Atlanta Falcons assistant coaching staff. That was a banger.
Not as loaded as The Outsiders.
The Outsiders was loaded too. The Outsiders, the musical, is actually pretty good right now. They performed at the Tonys. I think they won a couple Tony Awards. Hey, talking about things that aren't as good as they used to, we're going to talk about Nebraska football's defense coming up next on this side of the break. Let's go, Jake. Let's do another read here. What do we got? Oh, that's a great one. Oh, you have a daughter.
I do have a daughter.
You have a wife.
I do have a wife.
Are you a pumpkin patch family?
Yes.
Well, this might be just the thing for you, and just the thing for everyone else who probably 8:50. This is probably elementary school drop off at this point. You're probably taking your kids to second or third or fourth grade, or you're coming back from dropping your kid off at high school or something like that. Here's a good opportunity for you. Vala's season passes. Fall is just around the corner at 1620. The Zone is giving you the chance to win a season pass to Nebraska's favorite fall attraction, Vala's Pumpkin Patch. You could win 2 2025 season passes to Vala's and enjoy all the fall family fun that Vala's has to offer. Enter to win right now at 1620 The Zone. Enter your email and agree to the terms and conditions and apply. Football season is right around the corner. That means that fall is right around the corner as well. Keep this rolling, Jake. Here's why. I can't tell you, yes, I'm excited to watch football. I'm excited to watch Nebraska, to watch the Big Ten, to watch the SEC, to watch the NFL. I can't tell you, though, how excited I am for the first third down at Memorial Stadium. I'm getting fired up.
And Nate Rohr just letting it go.
Oh, my God. Honestly, I think I should part of me is I should just call Nate Rohr right now and just tell him, can you just scream it's third down in my ear just so I can get it, just so I can hear it, just so I can feel it, just so I can get a little taste, a little teaser before the season. There's nothing better than third down at a home stadium. I don't give a damn if you think, I don't think there's anything better. Third and 4, fourth quarter,
It's
up 3. Other teams on their own 40-yard line. You stop them here, they have to punt. Game's in your hands. Couple first downs away from winning the football game. This all you hear is, oh, wow.
as long as
Oh,
the student section
you're always on the student section.
isn't throwing up the 3 and out sign. And it's like
Good producing, Jake. Way to turn that down.
it's like they've had the ball for 4 minutes. They've picked up 5 first downs. Like they're
I don't think they think it's a. I'll be honest with you. When I threw up the bones with the 3, I did not think it was 3 and out. I just think I was like, it's just third down. So you put 3s up.
okay.
That's all. I think it's just that. It's not. They're telling the offense could go.
Then you just close it up.
No, I know, but this is how the 3 would be. You're not going like this.
I can.
You're not going like that. You're going like this. No, you're not. This
It's not a 3 and out.
No.
All I'm asking for is for the 18 to 22-year-olds to use a little critical thinking in what they're doing in the
I'm
stadium.
going to tell you something right now. What they were doing before they got into that section doesn't bode well for critical thinking.
I'm just saying. I'm expecting more.
Talking about critical thinking, somebody who we're always reminded about how smart he is. John Butler talked about the defense yesterday. Interesting press conference from John Butler. In the past, Butler, and you can correct me where I'm wrong, because you've been there. He's talked about aggression. He's talked about third down defense. He talks about red zone defense. He talks about the collective steps that the defense needs to take. Yesterday, he talked a lot about players. Did you notice that? It was a lot of singularly talking about players.
Yeah,
more so than usual.
Guys standing out, who's kind of moving around.
Talked about McCullough. Talked about Petruzak. Talked about some of the guys in secondary. It's one of those things where I really don't know how to judge John Butler, because he's such an interesting coach from the perspective of, you cannot deny the NFL resume, but you also cannot deny the fact that he hasn't been in those big roles, right? He hasn't been the D coordinator. He hasn't been the head coach. He's been a cog in the machine, but he hasn't necessarily been one of the hands on the clock. Now he is one of the hands on the clock as the defensive coordinator of this team. And I think bringing in Phil Snow has been very good for him, very important for him to give him maybe that trampoline, that bounce pad, that very wise and very experienced coach to, experiment with things with. Because I'm sure that, look, he hasn't been a defensive coordinator for 10 years, over 10 years.
Mhm.
And when he was a defensive coordinator, Penn State was in the middle of a postseason ban,
Yeah.
So
those were some
it was
those were
a
some years that they
very-
were trying to just figure out what can work.
Yes, it was a very weird circumstance he was in as a defensive coordinator as Penn State. And so he has a ton of experience, but not necessarily a ton of experience in the position that he's in currently right now. But it was an interesting change of tone and change of talking from being aggressive to talking about individual guys and how they look. And frankly, more so than the offensive end, because I think in the offensive end, we talk a lot about scheme. We talk a lot about Dana. We talk a lot about how Dana overall just himself will improve the offense. The defense really this season just comes down to you got to be better. Cam Lenhart, you had 16 tackles your first season. You had 16 tackles your second season. You got to be better. Riley Van Poppel, you got big shoes to fill. You redshirted last season, you developed. It's go time, man. Keona Davis, Jordan Ochoa, Jalen George. You guys either haven't played a lot of football or you haven't played a lot of Power 5 football. You gotta improve. You gotta be better. I imagine that's a pretty difficult spot to be in as a defensive coordinator. Looking around and saying, especially up in that front seven, looking at the roster and saying, man, like, yes, it is a lot about what we're teaching, and it's a lot about being aggressive, and it's a lot about making sure that you're doing more complicated things on the back end, which they'll be able to do because of the experience that they have. But it also just boils down to you guys just got to take the next step. You just got to be dudes. You just got to be better players.
Well, and that's one of the complications of the transition with your defensive coordinator is that you are replacing and hopefully having people step into those roles on the defensive line. That's the defensive line can make everything your defense do easier. Now, what they do have to make up for some of that is a lot of talent and a lot of experience on that back end. The other part that makes up for some of this to help out John Butler, who's extremely talented in what he does in going through this transition, is there's a lot of really good assistant coaches.
Good point.
Coaching the defensive side of the ball.
I've been super impressed with Addison Williams, and just from what I've heard from him.
We got Braden and Simpson yesterday too.
Brand's got a tough job. Brand's got a really, really tough job coming in, and I'll tell you something right now. T-Knight was loved. T-Knight was loved by that D-line room. I mean, those guys, man, they took to T-Night, and it's always hard when
he sounds like things are not going great down in Tallahassee. By the way,
yeah, Tony White. So Tony White had a press conference that I listened to last week, and I was like, and I love Tony, and I'm thankful enough to have talked to Tony before.
Is he the one? He's not. Is he the coach who called you out?
Yeah, he was the one.
Yeah, he was the one who called you out
awesome.
at a media session.
I've been to a lot of the TY press conferences. I've never seen him mad like that. But he's always firm. Tony's always firm, but I don't. And apparently too, I don't know if you've been reading the Florida State training camp breakdowns, but apparently their Boston College quarterback, their transfer is not playing good football right now, and they are not getting the performances out of him they assumed they would. Things might be in trouble in Tallahassee for Mike Norvell, just based off of all the things we're hearing from preseason.
Anyway, so yeah, back in Lincoln.
Real quick, isn't it so much different what Dana's dealing with than what John Butler's dealing with? Yes. It's like the opposite.
Well, and the thing is when you talk about, okay, what are the improvements the offense can make? Even talking about Mike Eckler, what are the improvements?
Well, that's a whole other.
No. But what are the improvements that can be made because of the experience and the resume from this person coming in? For John Butler, it's what can you maintain from a defense? What can you maintain from a production standpoint that was there a year ago? Because I think everyone can agree, if the offense is a little bit better and the special teams is a little bit better, they don't have to be top 50 offense in special teams last year. But if they're just a little bit better, if they're both top 80,
Sure.
that's probably 1 to 2 more wins. And as long as the defense stays where they are. So if you're expecting big jumps in offense and special teams, and you look at the defense and say, okay, if there is a regression, just don't drop off and you're fine.
Yeah. I guess you can look at it that way. And that's totally fine. Look, I'm never going to enter in the season to be like, just be a little bit worse than you were last season. Like this coaching staff, and in particular, Matt Rule, was brought in and hired to be here at Nebraska because of their pedigree as player developers.
Their expectations are not to be worse than they were last year.
No. And I'm not saying it's their expectations. I'm just saying what you were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing for me is that if you're going to tell me that you were brought here and you're a player developer and you love developing players and switching positions and whatnot, and that's what you guys are specializing at, Cam Lenhart, Keona Davis, Riley Van Poppel, Vincent Shavers, Willis McGahee, all have to make pretty sizable jumps. And the guy at the top of that list is Dylan Raiola.
And they should be able to step into those roles that were vacated.
Because that, to me, yes. And I've talked about this a lot with Josh Peters. Josh and I talk about proof of concept, right? This is the prove it year. I've called it the execution era. You got to go out and you have to show
old
that,
haterade Josh.
Well, no. But you got to go out and you got to show that everything that you're doing during the midweek and everything that we're hearing that's going on during the offseason is actually being put out onto the field. But also the proof of concept has to be the proof of you are here for why you were hired.
Mm-hmm.
And why you were hired was to win. But why you were hired is because, according to the Pick Six previews for the last couple of years, Nebraska has been the worst player development program in the country. They have been the worst program in the country of taking talented recruiting classes and turning them into NFL talent.
Mm-hmm.
The worst, by far. You were brought in to solve that problem. And so I understand what you're saying from a schedule perspective and wins perspective and, accomplishing what you want to accomplish this year. If the offense takes a certain jump, the defense doesn't necessarily have to be at the same level and can be a little bit worse for them to win 8 games, for them to win 9 games. But I would just prefer they go out and prove that they're getting paid for what they were paid to do, which is taking guys like those guys at the D line, like the young guys you have in the secondary, like a guy like Vincent Shavers, a young backer, and you can turn them into dudes.
Well, that's when you're talking about what can happen and it still be a good season versus here's what the ceiling is.
Sure.
And when you talk about that ceiling, absolutely, there's not a regression on the defense, and you get the big jumps in the other two phases.
It's a conversation we can have later, but the dichotomy of this entire team in terms of you have an offense where you have the ingredients, you just needed a new chef. And you have a defense where you don't have the ingredients. You don't have the proven ingredients. You need to make things a little bit better. Your chefs have to improve, if you will.
Right.
You have the ingredients, you don't have the chefs. You need to make the chefs better. And then you have the special teams where it's just a whole hodgepodge of who the hell knows what. Like you got a punter who's never kicked the ball before. You got a guy who came here because they have the right major at the College of Business. You have 2 guys who I guess essentially we thought were going to be their competition, but now they're competing against a whole other dude. And it seems like they've both had their moments where they're good. It's just a whole hodgepodge of stuff going on in special teams. Yet you have a Gordon Ramsay back there and you trust that he's going to be able to make you a good dish because he's damn Gordon Ramsay, like that's what this team is. If you want to put it in a kitchen analogy, which I don't know how I got down that rabbit hole, but I don't think I did a terrible job.
It was all right. Yeah, you did good.
I'm trying. I'm getting foam mouth. I need water.
No.
And I have a fever. A fever for Brian Christopherson.
Okay.
Coming up next at 9:00. Gary and Matt, 1620. Gary Matt here on 1620 The Zone. No Gary. He is on vacation currently. He will be back on Friday. And then next week we begin. Well, actually, on Monday, we'll have a college football game to talk about, which is going to be absolutely incredible. But before we talk about a college football game actually happening, we'll talk about a game hypothetically happening with one of our favorite writers, Oscars 24/7, Mr. Brian Christopherson. Brian, how are you, my man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm good. I'm very good.
Why did you like yell at him to bring him
I
in?
don't know. He's one of my friends. I just yell at my
You
friends.
you gave him such a good lead in, and you're like,
Brian,
the meatloaf.
what do you want to say? You want to say, Brian? You trying to do a Stewie?
Just bring him in. He's a good dude.
Okay, I'll redo that real
Oh,
quick.
God.
BC, you stay right there.
Oh God.
Welcoming from Huskers 24/7, Brian Christopherson. Is that better for you, Kyle?
Brian, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, how are you doing, man? How's it kicking over there?
Jeez.
It was fine the first one. I don't need the kid gloves. I mean, he might have been getting loud as like a little bit of intimidation factor because deep down there's like a little NFC North rivalry building, and
That's a
he's
good point.
feeling kind of cocky. He's got a strut right now because they had a good preseason.
Hell, preseason game. You see that
Sunday.
first drive? You see that
Preseason
You
champs,
see those
baby.
two tight ends? See those two tight ends, Brian? You see them?
TV can't stop talking about that quarterback.
Loveland and Komet. Come on, don't tell me you're not afraid.
You're
Don't tell me
going
you're not
real
afraid.
Gruden.
I mark it on my calendar every year for that one Bears preseason weekend in August where it just gets a little too much. I have to step away from social media.
Hey, we'll see you. We'll see you on Monday. All right, let's see you on Monday night.
Jeez.
By
You
the
guys
way-
will win that game. I've said that. I think you'll win that game. So I hope I'm wrong, but that's my pick.
I hope
so.
you're right. I hope you're totally right. I hope it's an ass kicking. Real quick, talking about hostile environments, how would you feel if you were at a post game media event and Matt Rule was at the podium and you asked a question and it wasn't up to your standards, and then people started going boo, boo? They started booing you. How would you feel about that?
I don't know. I guess you'd take it. It feels like everything's on a stage now. You know, when I first started on the beat, the interviews used to sort of be off to the side, and it was just like whatever made it in print was what the people got, and
Sure.
I kind of liked it that way. But now everything is sort of put under the microscope. It's like people can hear the questions, although
Sure.
some complain they can't hear the questions well enough, and they
Mhm.
want a mic on us, I guess. But yeah, I don't know how I'd react. I think I'd be a big boy about it. I that's part of the gig, right? You
Yeah.
get some good attention and you get some bad attention.
Have you seen the Oklahoma idea where they're going to sell essentially media access to fans from a
Well, okay, not selling media access, selling
Sure.
access to the
post
post-game
game
press
conference?
conference.
Yes. So you can
But not like they're sitting in the front row asking
no.
questions.
So you can pay for a singular game up to $700 to get 2 tickets to go to the post game press conference and watch.
Why
the
would you
coach.
want to do that?
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Why would a school want to do that? Why would the fans want to do that? We already have bowl reps who occasionally will take up a seat in the front row, which gets on people's nerves when that happens. But yeah, we don't need that. I'm not a fan of it now that you laid it out. I actually hadn't seen that story.
Okay.
And it's a little off-putting to me now that I hear it.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things where we're in the era of, football teams and athletic departments are just going to find every single way to make as much money as possible. And that's
Yeah, I don't love it. I guess if people can keep quiet and I don't think there should probably be booing now that I think about
Well,
it.
that was
The question-
that was my joke. I was making a joke because I asked that question terribly. I should have told you what the premises was.
Well, here's the
and
thing.
Then said it.
They don't
What?
need to sell access to the press conference for one of us to boo.
Sure, that's a good point.
Christopherson
Brian,
asking a
I could just boo
question.
you. I could just boo you, being honest. Brian, you suck. That's terrible.
Oh, there's plenty of people who do that through their screen or through their phone when they're watching them. So that's already going on. I guess it would just be taking it right to your face. So no, I don't like the idea. So I hope that doesn't pick up here. I'll be out front with that.
Sure.
All right. Well, without fan access yesterday, it seemed like it took about 8 hours to get through the coaches and the players there at the Hawks. What were your takeaways hearing from the defense as we are now 9 days out from the first game?
They're a fascinating crew because it's got this wide mixture of guys. You know, your up and comers, your sort of your Vincent Shavers, your Keona Davis types. And then you've got these vets like Marquise Watson-Trent, who's has like 370 tackles to his name coming in. And I do think I guess my standout impression yesterday of the guys who came up was they nailed it from the perspective of getting really mature portal guys who are sort of pros into the building. And does that mean it's going to just be awesome between the lines? Those guys have to go and make plays. That's all understood. But I do think if you go through and like listen to Marquise Watson-Trent talk, or Jameer Khan was really a great interview, you know, for 10, 11 minutes. All those guys have come up and you're like, I understand why when they did the process in December and they had these guys in the building and they're kind of seeing who fits and who doesn't. It's easy to nod your head to why they're there now, because they come off in that sort of mature way that they can lead, but also fit in and listen to their teammates well and don't act like they know it all. So I was impressed really by that group of like portal guys, and John Butler's talked about it throughout the offseason. He thinks they hit at a high clip with those guys that they brought in. And I think we're going to see in 9 days, a ton of those players playing impactful snaps, which is what you hope from the portal, but it doesn't always happen. And I think on defense, it's working out, at least in the offseason, how they wanted those guys to trend.
There's a really important coach in Lincoln that I think we can all agree we do not talk about enough. There's probably two of them. I want to shout out Rob Dvorak because he's incredible, and we don't talk about him enough. I just want to put that out there. But the other guy I'm alluding to is Glenn Thomas, quarterback's coach. Does he still have the title of co-offensive coordinator, or is he just QB's coach? I think he's just.
I think he still has that title.
Okay.
On his bio.
But it's still, it's Dana's show. My question to you, Brian.
Yeah,
is,
it's there on the website.
If
it's official.
If we're talking about Glenn Thomas during the season, does that mean things went right or things went badly?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get where you're going with it. It probably badly, honestly, is the answer to it.
Incredible.
But I like what I've heard in the fact that not so much with Raiola, but the guys behind him, how I think Latif's growth this offseason and the good things you've heard, you have to connect in some ways to Glenn Thomas holding a certain standard about, hey, when you're the Husker quarterback and you step into that huddle, I don't care if your name's not Raiola. This is what the bar is. This is what we expect you to get done. And it sounds like those guys have really bought into that. And I think it's been a big part of Latif's progress. And so it sounds like he's done a really nice job with them. But yeah, it's one of those positions where sort of, I guess if things went haywire, he would maybe come up more. But I don't know. That's an interesting thought process. But I do know that he's fit in well with Dana, and I think they have a good connection sort of in how they see things and how they can teach things. And each guy's got his own thing that he can get across to a player in a different way.
I'm glad you brought up Latif, because I think if you go back probably 2-3 weeks, a lot of people would have assumed, all right, it's going to be Jalen Gramstead 2, and then we'll see how far along into the season Latif develops. But it sounds like there's a real battle going on there. What does it look like behind Raiola? Because as we all know, he's not going to play every snap of every game this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think there can be some nervousness about what's behind him, but I always tell people I think that's everywhere. And I mean, even in the most glorious years of this program, you sometimes were, Matt Turman. I love Matt Turman, but he was a walk-on, who had to step in and start a game one year, and the offense was very limited that week, and he did a nice job. But I mean, that's the way it's been for decades, and people sometimes act like it hasn't been that way, where there's always been just like this stacked quarterback room. Once in a while, you feel really good about your second guy, but I think across the country, especially in the portal era, it's sort of that unknown quantity to it, where it's like you hear some good things, you hear good feedback from coaches, but you don't actually know until the guy gets out there under the lights. But it's good to bring Latif into the conversation, because I think he's had a really strong offseason, and I think he's a cool story. He's one of the better stories of the offseason in a way, because he was easy to sort of talk over, because he was the guy when he signed, that is, because he was the guy right behind Raiola. And then, of course, there's another Raiola in the next class, and Trey Taylor. And, it just takes up a lot of bandwidth sort of talking about those guys. And he sort of just put his head down and went to business and really impressed his coaches with his diligence to the craft. And it seems to be getting better. So what that means if you were asked to take snaps in a game with all that pressure, I don't know. But I think he's come as, far as you probably would hope from everything we've heard from our interviews.
Bigger concern at running back or defensive line?
What was the second one?
Defensive
line. I'm going to say D line for now.
Okay.
And I've said this on the show all off season. It reminds me of 23 in a way. So I have just an open mind about D line. Like, it's not like I'm negative on it or nervous about it for them. It's sort of that I've seen Rule 2 years ago have a line where we, at this point, we're talking about, I don't know what they got over there. Can this guy step up and give 40 snaps? I'm not sure, and all that. And, by the end of that September, we felt pretty good about it. And I think that's totally possible for this group too. So that's where my headspace is with that. It's sort of like I see what can be, and Rule has a good track record with his D lines. I think he hired a coach who they really like what he's doing, and Terry Braden in his first year with those guys, and they've adopted his philosophy as well. But they are an unknown until they're not, and so that's why I would answer your question the way I would. Now, you could say that's the same for the running backs, but I think Mekhi and Mosey, they got a little something. I mean, they're going to have to go show it, but I don't know. I'm kind of buying into that a little bit, that they're going to be a little bit more stable, or it is more stable than maybe we thought in the spring.
All right, let me do a follow-up question here, because I don't think, and I've beaten the dead horse about how many sacks that they've lost, and the lack of tackles for loss, and sacks that the D-line has. But from a visual perspective, because you've been at those open practices, it just seems like they look the part more than ever. It just seems like they look like big and long and lean and athletic. And is it just crazy to say, where you're just looking at these guys and you're like, yeah, they haven't done a lot, but man, they look like the guys who do a lot in that position?
No, they do they look a lot better than they have for 5-10 years up front. This season in particular, the O-line, you could say the same thing. And it's not just the first, 6 to 8 guys on the O-line. You're talking about your Grant Brickses and your, Jason Machachaks. I mean, there's guys who, I mean, they're impressive looking figures. And like on the D-line, Jalen George, it doesn't surprise me. He's been a hot name over the last week, even though he was a green jersey all off season. Every time I'd see him, I was like, man, just get him out of that green jersey, because he looks like he can go help you. And I think he can now. And so he's like 285, 290. Cade Petchak, who I called Peter Zach yesterday in the press conference, because that's how it looks when I see it.
Is it not Peter Zach?
Bruns told me it's Petchak.
We're gonna have to go to the VAR.
Okay. I learned yesterday that it's Marquess Watson Trent.
Oh, it's not Marquise Watson
See?
Trent?
I said that wrong too.
Yeah, it's Marquise Buford,
BC.
Marquess Watson Trent.
BC, you and I say names all wrong all the time too. Don't worry about it. I mean, it's not. I
what's
mean, it's
your
tough.
excuse? You're on the radio all the time.
I know.
That's
a good
bad
point.
form. But yeah, I'm just typing these guys' names out, and I'm not. Unless I have to. I will say it to like my dogs. Like you think that's what it is, but they don't know the answer. But back to the D line. Yeah, I do think, Matt. They have the look, and now I guess in some cases, isn't it kind of like you need some guys to play like 1 year ahead of schedule in a few cases?
I think you could say that has to happen for a lot of this team, right?
Certain spot. I don't think the coaches would frame it that way, and I get why, but I sort of like with the D line, I think that's like you just need guys to be on the fast track. Maybe that's the better way to say it. Like if we have Williams Winnari, he doesn't have to be a superstar this year.
No.
But if he's showing that development and you're like in the late September, he shows up and makes a play against Michigan where it just flashes, you're like, okay, there it is. That sort of thing. Like that's what you want to see 9 days from now on that defensive side.
I want to say something to you, and then I'm going to let Caleb ask you the last question. But here's the thing: the whole 1 year ahead of schedule, right? Like, I think you could say you need guys to play 1 year ahead of schedule to make the college football playoff.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
But if they just play currently on schedule, I think they'll win 8 or 9 games. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's a good way to frame it. And also, I mean, there's just certain stats where much as we liked what Tony White and that crew did, there is room to improve a couple stats that where if you went up in, you could actually take half a step back in another stat and you would make up for it. And I'm thinking about like takeaways, like Nebraska, under Tony White, they had 17 takeaways. They did have some pick sixes. You got to give them that last year. But they had 17 takeaways. They haven't been in the top 25 in that for a long time. Like you need like 23, 24 of those to get in the top 25. So add 6 or 7 more takeaways to the season if you're that kind of aggressive ball hawking group. And if you're a little bit better in the red zone, they had games where they were awesome. Like John Butler in his first game as DC, Boston College, they were great in the red zone. They were great against Rutgers. But if you look at the red zone touchdown percentage last year that they allowed, it was like 51st or something. So, those are like 2 big stats where if takeaways and red zone defense goes up 1 notch, you could make up for some other areas too. There's a little bend, don't break to that. But you framed it very well. Guys if they're 1 year ahead, then you're talking like, okay, this is an elite team. If they're on schedule, it can still be a very solid team.
All right, BC, I like to support, so I opened up the 24/7 Sports website, and what do I see? Some garbage from Auburn. Dumb or really dumb that they're deciding to recognize several additional national championships.
Auburn is?
Yeah, 4. They're recognizing 4 national championships.
It says they're recognizing 7 more.
7?
Jeez. 7 more.
Yeah, they're so
from 1938.
Well, one of them's from 2004.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, so 1910, 13, 14, 58, 83, 93, 04.
83.
On top of 57 and 2010.
Why do people do stuff like that nobody else recognizes? Like even the fans of Auburn know deep down that don't count. So like, you wouldn't even want that like on your building really, because it's just a lie.
There's 2. So the press release was like, we've had this long story tradition at Auburn of not recognizing anything other than the AP poll, like what the AP selects. But we've decided in honor of all those great teams, we're now going to honor those championships. Brian and Caleb, this is a recruiting thing, right? They just want to say they have
no recruits can look at that number and go, that's garbage. Nebraska, by the way, has at least 7 unclaimed titles.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you like a really sharp recruit to be like, coach, that 1937 title, are you just going off like a poll like that was in Pennsylvania after the regular season before the bowl games were played? It shouldn't even really count, right? No. So you'd like recruits to see through that, but maybe some won't. You're right. I'm sure it's recruiting and I guess, a way to puff out your chest in some way that nobody cares about. I mean, no one recognizes that stuff in the same way, like teams that win a national title or make the Final Four in basketball, but then years later they get penalized for something they did.
Mhm.
People, it's like, you still can't take away from my mind
Mhm.
that I
Yes.
saw John Calipari lead UMass to the Final Four, that sort of
I
stuff.
watched
So,
Reggie Bush win a Heisman.
You can never
Yeah.
tell me the Fab Five didn't do it.
yeah. So I think this is like the other way of that.
Yeah.
And it's stupid.
Well, I love how we began with "This is stupid" and we ended with "This is stupid." with
It's
Brian
full
Christoph.
circle.
Stupid.
Everything is stupid. That's a quote. Just put on the hot take for it. Everything's stupid. Brian
It's the opposite of the Lego movie. Everything is stupid.
Everything is worse. All right.
Okay.
BC, everything will be better when we get to next Thursday and Nebraska is playing Cincinnati and Kansas City. Can't wait to see you there. Can't wait to talk to you before that as well. Talk to you soon, my man.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
See you, Brian.
Brad Scarfson, Huskers 24/7. Always the best. Brad! We're actually going to talk about a guy named Josh coming up next, and then talking to a dude named Andy
Ooh.
on Gary and Matt. Well, when I was a young boy, NIL didn't exist. It was just a bunch of men, well, young men, who would turn into grown men, who would be molded by older men to become adults, and they would put their lives on the line to win football games. Now, NIL exists, and we have the Kind of Like NIL sweepstakes. Kind of Like NIL is a $5,000 sweepstakes where you can feel like a true MVP. Think you've got what it takes to cash in like the pros? 1620 The Zone is giving you the chance to score big in the Kind of Like NIL $5,000 sweepstakes. Get ready to live like a legend. Even if your highlight reel is mostly backyard barbecues and Monday morning meetings, one lucky winner will take home $5,000. No pads, no practices, just cold, hard cash. Go to 1620thezone.com to find out more information on the Kinda Like NIL sweepstakes. We had a whole slew over the last couple of days of quarterback announcements across both college football and the NFL. Nico Amaliava obviously will be starting for USC, but the guy who went from UCLA over to Tennessee, Joey Aguilar, in the unannounced unofficial trade between the two, where Tennessee got Aguilar and cash considerations for Nico Amaliava. Aguilar is now going to be the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers. Do want to remind everybody that Aguilar had a sub 60% completion percentage and led the country in interceptions last season. Good luck in the SEC. Joe Flacco, at the age of 40, beat out two rookies and Kenny Pickett. Joe Flacco, at the age of 40, beat out a former first-round pick, a current third-round pick, and a current fifth-round pick for the job, and Tyler Huntley. So good luck to Cleveland.
Julian Sayin, Ohio State.
Sayin will be the Ohio State quarterback. That was a competition between a true sophomore and a true freshman that was a lot closer than people anticipated that it would be. I think a lot of people
was it though?
I don't think a lot of people anticipated that Ryan Day would come out and say, "Hey, it's a really close competition battle that's going to come down to the wire."
Yeah, he said that, but
was it actually close?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's a question for people in Columbus. You know, like I think the Columbus Inquirer would probably know something like
Dispatch.
Yes, or the World Herald or whatever.
their version of the World Herald.
Everybody's got their own version of the World Herald.
The Columbus Journal-Star.
There's so many different ways of saying
Columbus Hub.
We have a newspaper. Steve Angeli is going to be the starting quarterback for Syracuse,
which is
actually notable news.
Yes, because they went and got him. He got there in the summer.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like they thought they were set at quarterback coming out. Well, no. Well, they had announced a starting quarterback out of the spring, and then said,
Angeli, Steve
Angeli, can you get in here?
Steve Angeli,
because they took their other quarterback to ACC Media Days. Steve
Angeli was a long time backup quarterback for Notre Dame, beloved by students, beloved by fans, but kind of recognized, hey, I guess I'm going to have to go somewhere else to get an opportunity to play football as a quarterback. And so he's now going to go
Ricky Collins.
Orange.
They took Ricky Collins.
And they announced Angeli. I didn't know that.
They took Ricky Collins to ACC Media Days. Announced him as the starter out of the spring.
I think we'll be getting a Colts quarterback update pretty soon in terms of who they're going to end up naming as their starter, which, God.
Ricky Collins, by the way, played the last couple of years at LSU.
Anthony Richardson is, I mean, if he doesn't end up beating Daniel Jones was almost like the perfect quarterback for the Colts to sign because it's not fake. You could lose to Daniel Jones in a quarterback battle, but if you are to lose a quarterback battle with Daniel Jones, it's kind of signed, sealed, delivered. You're not the guy, you know? So kudos to the Colts. They kind of find out. They get to find out before. Well, they haven't announced it yet, but Daniel Jones probably won that job. At least I think he is.
How many guys from this would be a great Robin Washit question.
Okay.
How many guys were on the Giants at one time that are all now starters somewhere else?
God.
While the Giants couldn't do anything with them.
Off top of my head.
Because we've already mentioned two of them, obviously.
Yeah.
With Daniel Jones and Saquon.
Daniel Jones. Oh, wow. That's a great one. I can't. Do they? Wandell's still on the team. Is Kadarius Tony's not still? Oh, they got the safety out in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
McKinney, he's starting.
But I just think it's interesting to note, like,
Yeah,
where
I don't know if
talent
it's
is,
that if it's as Evan Ingram.
or is it
Evan
just
Ingram's playing some
yeah,
of his,
or is it just like
he's in Denver.
they were top heavy with talent and didn't have enough of kind
And
of
they just didn't
everyone
have
else?
a quarterback. And then it was almost as if they didn't have a quarterback, and when they got a quarterback, then they didn't have the weapons. And the one
Mhm.
time that they had good Daniel Jones and good weapons, they made the playoffs and they got knocked out in the first round, which is exactly why Brian Dable is still the coach over there. Kansas City, they're looking to keep it rolling. They play Texas tonight. The Royals do. And then the Cubs probably have the biggest series of the year so far. They have a doubleheader today. They start at 1:20. So there's your update.
Are those
And
divisional games? Are those future divisional games?
I don't want to talk about realignment.
Realignment's so fun though.
Shut up.
Like realignment
it's
is
not.
such a fun conversation.
I
though.
don't. Okay, let's talk about it. I can't stand you. I wanted to talk about Josh Pate, but
It is such a fun conversation.
is.
And some of it revolves around.
it's not a fun conversation. It's a dumb conversation.
Okay. Why is it a dumb conversation?
Because I don't give a rat's ass about the Minnesota Twins. That's why. And I don't want the Cubs to be in a division with the Minnesota Twins. And
You're already playing. Like, everyone plays everybody.
And I still care about the Cardinals, and I like the Cardinals rivalry.
Mhm.
And I
that wouldn't
still,
go away.
I still have, yes, it would if you're not playing them as much as you play them.
Why wouldn't the Cubs and Cardinals?
Because a
play
part
as
of it
much?
was like, man, like the Cardinals always win the division. Well, what do you mean they wouldn't play as much? You play more in baseball, you play more of your divisional opponents than anybody else in the league, just like every other league. And so when the Cardinals are in your division, you see them a ton, like you see the Brewers a ton, like you see the Reds a ton. These are rivalries that have spanned decades and decades, and some have spanned a century where they've been in the same division and they built these classic moments and these big games and hatred towards one another. And just because you want your TV schedule to be a little bit better and you want the travel schedule to be a little bit less, you're going to completely X-nay all of the baseball history that you've written over the last 100 years? No.
The leagues already don't matter in their differences
There's
between
not-
NL and
Okay,
AL.
but I'm not
It's-
talking about NL and AL.
No, no,
There's
no.
a difference between the NL West and the NL Central and all the different. I don't care as much about the Colorado Rockies as much as I do the Pirates or the Reds or the Cardinals or the Brewers, because I know every year that those are the teams that I have to compete against because you want to win your division. In baseball, you got to win your division.
Yeah, and you're naming all geographic teams that are likely to still be
No.
lumped in with the Cubs.
Looking at this, so there's this Jim Bowden put out his proposed realignment.
Okay, but
Okay.
but his also
Cubs,
like they
White Sox, Brewers, Twins. First off, I don't want to be in the same division as the White Sox.
there are assumptions to where the expansion is.
Astros, Royals, Cardinals, Rangers. What the hell do any of those teams have to do with one another?
I mean, I'm not saying that's how I would realign them.
I think the way that they're aligned is perfectly fine.
I think they're fine.
I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just add your two teams to new divisions.
All right, get rid of the designated hitter.
I don't
Yeah,
give I don't care about that.
You've already changed by doing that, by changing up how many games are played against each team. Like you've already changed the way everything plays out anyway. By expanding the playoffs.
Exactly. So let's stop changing things and let's not completely recreate the sport that a lot of people like. And let's just keep tradition. We are in an era of sport in general where we just love changing things to change things, and we get rid of tradition because of money reasons. I would prefer that this is one of the times where we don't do that, because I don't care about the Twins. And frankly, I don't want to be in a division as the White Sox, because I have friends that are White Sox. All right? White Sox fans. I don't want to have those face off 18 times a year. I don't want to have all those games. I don't want to be mad at them. I don't want to be pissed at them. I don't want it to get like if the Cubs and the Sox were in the same division, I don't know if it would really be the like, oh my God, what a great rivalry as you think, as much as it would be just kind of annoying all the time that like I now have to always talk crap in baseball to my friends all the time. I kind of like it that you have the Crosstown Cup and you do your thing and I do my thing, and I'm worried about me and you're worried about you. And then we come together 4 times a year and we look each other in the eye and we go, all right, how you doing? I'm going to kick your ass. All right, cool. And then we go and we do it.
So Chicago's full of cowards. Got it.
I just don't think. I think how the White Sox Cubs rivalry works right now is nice. They're in their American League. We're in our National League. We both don't like each other.
And you
It's-
play a bunch of games that don't actually matter. I say a bunch of games. You play a few
They
games
matter. They
that
matter
don't
to
matter.
us. I'm just telling you right now, just from a like having a second team in your city, from that perspective, I just don't think it would be a ton of fun to be in their same league and have that everywhere you go, every time you talk about a sport, every time you talk about baseball with one of your friends, it's like it becomes heated because you're both trying to win the same thing.
So
Where
why does it work in
where-
other leagues?
What
why
why
does
does it
it-
work in?
LA, New York.
But they're in different divisions. The Angels are in different divisions.
No.
The
I
Yankees
said
are in
no.
different.
I said other leagues, so like other sports.
Okay, so the Rams and the Chargers are in different divisions. The New York Giants and the New York Jets, they're in different divisions. What
But they
leagues
also
are you referring
but they
to?
also can't play
What are you referring to?
4 times a year.
But I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you what it like nowhere across sports do you have similar the same city in the same leagues, and it's for a specific reason. It's because there's just a different dynamic with it. The dynamic of I'll tell you right now, I do not like the White Sox. I don't like them at all. Okay.
Play them a dozen times.
I don't want to because it takes away from what that rivalry was really built into. What the rivalry is really built into.
The rivalry is built that you are not going to play each other
A
enough.
little bit, yeah. A little bit. It's built into the fact that you have what you care about, and I have what I care about, and I have business to take care of, and you have business to take care of. And then we come together and we both don't like each other, and we try and prove, hey, we're the best team in this city. And then you go your own ways. And then maybe, yeah, it'd be a really cool moment if the Sox and the Cubs played in the World Series, or it'd be a cool moment, or if the Mets and the Yankees play in the World Series, which they have, which it was.
What
But
cities are getting the expansion teams?
Charlotte and Nashville.
Are they like for sure, or is that just their projection? Because
This
I also
is their projection.
because I also saw some saying Salt Lake and Portland.
I don't know. It's just having two teams in the same city. That rivalry is very unique, and and at times it can be harder to explain to people who don't have that, who haven't experienced that. And I just think that uniqueness of those rivalries are cool. And I don't think I'm the only one who's saying I'm not clamoring to play the White Sox 18 times a year. I'm not. I'm really not.
I'm fine with it. Make them
But
play.
you're not
Make
there.
them play.
But you're not.
I'm not a coward. Line them up. Let them play. If they're rivals, make them play.
I would
That's the
love-
fun part
I
of
would love
sports.
I would love a Cubs fan to call in or somebody to email in and answer this question, or maybe another fan of a team that is in the same city as another team. Are you willing to trade the Cardinals rivalry for the Sox rivalry?
Well, you wouldn't trade it.
I
Like
think you are because you're
they-
not in the same division anymore.
Why wouldn't the Cards and Cubs still be in the same division? Is it 2-team divisions?
It says it right here. I'm just going off of what a projected realignment would look like.
Okay,
they're
because
in
they
different
because they
divisions.
did a garbage realignment
All right.
doesn't mean that's what it would be.
Gary and Matt, where we argue hypotheticals. Coming up next, now the hypothetical about Andy Kendi. He'll be on the other side of this break at the end of the 9 o'clock hour. We're talking about the bar. It's only right that we play this song at the end of the show as we bring in a very special guest. You never want to close all the doors when Andy Kendi walks into your house, right? You want to, actually, that doesn't make any sense. We probably should close the doors so you can hang out with him. It doesn't matter. Andy Kendi of KTV. What a terrible intro. That's awful. That's just me trying to be creative and just hitting a brick wall there.
Boys, good morning. It's always a sad song when I hear that one. That means it's time to leave.
I know. We don't want to leave.
Yeah.
But actually,
No.
if we're being honest, I do want to leave the part of my life where there's no football. And we are currently only 8 days or 9 days away from being
No
there.
correction.
Do you want me to write it
boys.
down for you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to. I never remember any of those things. How's
Yeah,
your?
we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 days until Farmageddon in
Yes.
Dublin, Ireland.
Yes.
So we are fired. In fact, there will not be another weekend before the end of this calendar year without a college football game. How about that?
God,
And Andy,
music to my
you
ears.
look at Farmageddon and like they're doing fun things with the jersey to celebrate that they're playing in Ireland. Isn't it a little disappointing looking back on Nebraska a few years ago and being like, why wasn't there something with the Celtic knots or something? They just something with a jersey or helmet.
Yeah, it seemed like a missed opportunity, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
does the game. Losing that game
Well.
seemed like a missed opportunity too. And I will say that we have a sister station in Des Moines, and they were picking our brains because they're leaving. I think they're leaving actually today to go cover it for KCCI in Des Moines.
Yeah.
And oh boy, I'll tell you. And I tried to set them on the right path, and talk time differences and the logistical, basically hurdles, which you don't even think about if you've never been over there. And
Sure.
and yeah, it was a trip. It was a trip that I will never forget. Let's just put it to you that way. There was good and bad, and it was an amazing experience to see all those Husker fans travel. That was pretty amazing. They did that. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they did this pep rally
Mhm.
Yeah.
the day before the game in this middle of the city park. And there had to be 5,000-10,000 people, Husker fans there. It was pretty amazing how many Husker fans showed up. I would not be surprised to see some international neutral site game in the near future for Nebraska. Now, I don't know who they're going to play because, you'd almost have to put it in a Big Ten opponent because, this day and age, you saw what Indiana did with their non-conference yesterday.
Jeez.
I can't imagine
Jeez.
Nebraska playing a tough non-conference opponent overseas.
No.
But I mark my words, before the end of our lifetimes, there will be multiple trips to open the season across.
I'm excited for that. Now, Andy, are you closing it down internationally like it's Big Ten Media Days in Vegas?
I don't know. But first of all, there's no closing time in Vegas.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's tough to even hear. You can't even. That song doesn't even apply. But yeah, there was some violent morning. Waking up. What if you that? But you know what?
I saw you guys running in there.
Yeah, we were. No, you saw me running in there. Lauren was always there.
Yes.
And Lauren was always punctual and on time. I was the guy in scramble mode. So let me just say, I've been to Vegas more than a dozen times. I have never been for that long of a time, and I will never go for that long of a time. Again. I can't even imagine what the I mean, granted, the Husker men's basketball team had a crown to deal with, but holy moly, that after day 2 or 3, you're like, when can we go home? This was I've had enough. So, yeah.
2 days in Vegas seems like the appropriate amount of time in Vegas.
I agree. I agree.
Let's talk about next week's game. I mean, there is a lot of hype. Now, I don't think to the point of the 2019 season, but I feel like as we inch closer, we're getting a little bit more restless and more excited. Do you think that this Cincinnati game, more so than any other game in recent memory, if the Huskers were to win it, would induce this fan base to have a ton of hype, more so than what we've seen in the past? Or do you think it'll be all right, hey, Cincinnati 6-6, we're not going to buy too much, let's pump the brakes a little bit? What's your read on what the excitement level might be if they start the season?
Well, especially how they do it. If they
Sure.
win in a convincing fashion and the offense looks like a machine, then I think the hype train is all aboard, right?
Sure.
But if they just squeak out some kind of a one possession game, which it very well might be, then there might be some more cautious optimism amongst the fan base. But I think we've all experienced what can happen to a hyped up opener when Nebraska loses. It really derails the season. So that's why this game holds so much importance. And Cincinnati is an opponent that can do. They're no pushover, right? I mean, we were just talking about Bruce Feldman puts together that freaks list
Yeah.
or whatever, the 100 biggest freaks in college football. Nebraska, I don't think had a guy on.
They didn't have one guy on there.
And Cincinnati had 3. So that tells you right now that they've got some athletes that can play. Now, do they have the depth and the team that Nebraska does? I would think not, but we've heard so much about this revamped offense and Dylan taking the step. Well, we're finally going to see it in 9 days. We're down to single digits, thank goodness. And I think the guessing can finally end, and we actually have game footage to actually see what it's all about. Because our windows of viewership for the practice and fall camp has been so limited. I mean, the fans had 33% of the viewership that we did. That was one of the 3 opportunities we had. Now that was great. That probably gave us our best window into what this team's all about. But yeah, I think that this game is so important for so many reasons. The biggest, which let's see how the offense looks, and can the defense hold up with all of the losses that happened to this team on the defensive line, especially.
I don't know about that freaks list after yesterday seeing Keona Davis up close at the meeting. That's a big dude. And if they need to add coaches, let's get Phil Simpson on there too.
Right. It's funny that you say that, because I texted a buddy of mine and I said, hey, I remember when Ohio State walked in here when it was game day and whatever was there, and they were just unveiling the plans for the Go Big Red project, and we were doing live shots over in the north end zone, and that's where the Ohio State line was warming up, defense and offense. I'm like, these guys don't look like Nebraska guys. Well, yesterday was the first time that I saw guys on Nebraska squad that I was like, holy cow, I cover the NFL. These look like NFL bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are enormous. And not even Keona Davis, Jordan Ochoa, these guys, Deshaun McCullough, these guys are NFL body types. Now, I'm not saying they play like NFL players. I'm just saying what they look like. And man, they're going to, if nothing else, they will intimidate coming off the bus because they look the part. Now, can they play the part? That's going to be the key. But it's an interesting thought because they do look like they are ready to take the next step physically. That's what's so exciting.
Andy Kennedy of KETV, we're going to let you go on this one. When was the last time you thought that? Man, they look like it. Man, they're similar to some of these teams that win football games. Has it been a while?
Yeah, I mean, my first year covering this team was 2010, the last year of the Big 12, and but that was a different league, right?
Yeah,
it was a different style of play. So I don't even know if you can equate that. There were some big bodies on that Pelini. On those early Pelini teams in the 2010s. But I'll tell you, fellas, the thing that really impresses me is the depth that this team has. Sure. And it's not just the defensive line. There's a lot of inexperience on the defensive line, but they got a lot of pieces with a lot of high ceilings. Now, on the offensive line, this is the best depth I've seen. And we're talking big bodies. These guys are huge. So that's why, again, can it translate on the field on Saturdays or on a Thursday night in Kansas City? And I think that's what's so exciting because I think, in year 3, this is win time, as Matt Rule says. And really, this is where the program, he thinks should be. And you can just tell by his demeanor, what great mood he was in on Saturday addressing the media. And we'll see him again on Friday. And, I think he knows that his team is ready to take the next step. Now, will it result in double-digit wins like his other 2 times in college at Temple and at Baylor? We'll see. But right now, going in to the season, I think, some fans, you kind of have to sell a little bit harder in the off season. They're like, saying, hey, this guy X is going to be this player. Well, this year, I don't think you really have to do that because it's right there in front of you. You can see these guys, now Now, will depth at running back come back to haunt them? Who knows? Well, how will these wide receivers come to fruition? That's the beauty of this first game. Finally, we're going to get some answers, fellas. I cannot wait. Let's just get it going.
Yeah,
I mean, it's sad to see we got 9 days left, and we still got 9 days left.
So close.
No, Farmageddon. We're
close.
fired up for this
We're
weekend.
4 days Farmageddon and then 5 days to Nebraska. That's how we got to think about it. 4 plus 5.
There we go.
4 plus 5. All right, Andy. You're the best. We'll talk to you next week. We'll see you in Kansas City. Can't wait for it. You have a good one, my friend.
Thanks, fellas. Be good. Have a good week.
See ya.
See you, Andy.
Almost as if I'm a wizard or I'm a Nostradamus or something. But Daniel Jones just got named the starter of the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh no.
There you go. Oops. Kind of saw it coming. Anthony Richardson era is officially over. And the early votes of do you want the same city in your division are coming in. Colin from White Plains says, absolutely not. As a Yankees fan, I don't want the Mets to be in my division.
It's good to know there's cowards in New York too.
And Cubs fan Graham says, no, I don't want the White Sox in my division.
Yeah,
So
I already
cowards
knew.
everywhere.
I already knew there were cowards in Chicago.
Well, it was great hosting with you,
Hey,
Caleb.
I love it, man.
It
This
was-
is so much
It was
fun.
incredibly fun. Thank you so much. How much you mean to me. Appreciate you coming on here. You've become a regular man of
I
1620 The Zone, filling in. You've done an incredible job every single time. So we look forward to seeing you down the line, dude.
This is fun. I love it.
HuskerMax.com. A lot of great articles coming out. I'll be writing a couple of articles this year.
Uh-oh.
Josh Peterson has been doing some really good work. I think Oscar Jacobson has been doing some awesome work. You got great coverage, not only from a football perspective, but volleyball, baseball, basketball, and
volleyball this Friday.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We're going to have some special
Pumped.
guests. Going to have some special guests for the Bread Out Week coming in talking about volleyball. So don't go anywhere. Connor Apper Show. Coming up next is the crossover.